Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see what if Ninja Deku became Green Flash and had Harem, part 2. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is MHA, The Green Flash by HarshaJirou. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Izuku just arrived home as he opened the door and he was met upon a questions over questions from Inko and the Yaoyorozu family. Izuku wasn't able to hear anything, so he said in a loud tone, "Okay, wait. I will answer your questions one by one." They calmed down as they all went to the hall as Yaoyorozu family sat on one side along with Inko and Izuku was on other. Inko went first as she asked, "What did you mean by modeling when you went out today?" Izuku just said, "Exactly how it sounds. I got a modeling contract with a brand." The group were shocked as Akira first recovered and asked, "How did this come to be?" Izuku sighed as he leaned back and then recounted the events that happened with Ryukyu. Everyone slowly understood why Izuku accepted as Momo asked, "Don't you have your mask on while modeling?" Izuku shook his head no as Akira again asked, "But how? I never managed to convince you to even show me the face." Izuku then said, "Well, since I just got my license recently, I have been saving up money for a long time to get my own car. It would have taken me more years, but with this contract, I will be able to buy one at the end of the contract." Akira nodded as Inko asked, "But sweetie, I could have bought you a car if you asked." Izuku chuckled a bit as he said, "I just wanted to buy it with my own money is all. Plus I am not going for the Bentley Range that you got 2 years ago, Mom." Athena laughed a bit as she then asked, "What type of car are you aiming for?" Izuku immediately said, "One of the 7-seater tones which are both tall and give excellent service. The one I have in mind looks really good too." Momo then asked, "Will you have time to use it cause school will start?" Izuku shrugged and said, "I can get a parking pass on the first day and drive to school from the next. Plus I plan to have a small road trip around Mustafa before school begins." Everyone nodded as they congratulated Izuku for getting his first job as Athena finally asked the most important question, "Which company are you modeling for, Izu-chan?" Izuku answered, "Clamwar." Suddenly Momo and Athena had stars in their eyes as Akira exclaimed, "You are modeling for Clamwars? Wow, that is one of the best global clothing company." Momo and Athena nodded excitedly as they are already ready to read the next showcase magazine which will come out tomorrow. Momo then asked, "Was it a solo photo shoot or a duo?" Izuku said, "Like I said previously, it was a duo with Ryukyu." Momo nodded as she was internally pouting as she thought, "Ryukyu is making her moves too, damn it." Akira then asked, "Can you show me your face now?" Izuku shrugged as he said, "Sure, you guys will know tomorrow anyways, so nothing to hide." Izuku pulled down his mask revealing his face. Athena had to admit, he looked more hotter than the photo described him. Akira was looking like he had accomplished his life dreams as he went around Izuku checking every part of his face, which was also done by Inko, who also didn't see her son's face for years. Time skip 45 days. The modeling contract was a huge success. The contract was even extended for 2 more sessions or 15 days as Clamwars were very Izuku with Izuku's performance. Ryukyu only had one more duo photoshoot with Izuku after the first. The Clamwars director, after getting to know Izuku's path in future, decided to follow Izuku's moments so he can sponsor him too. In worldwide, the magazines with Izuku were very well received by the general public. Momo almost fainted out in her room looking at Izuku first modeling magazine but managed to get by with only a small amount of blood trickling down her nose. Oh, her mid-teenage mind went elsewhere all right. Athena and Inko were singing praises on his looks, which was embarrassing for Izuku. Even Akira asked for a model gig with his company regarding showcasing a new model for laptops. Izuku had gotten 3 bonuses in total. The company wanted to hire Izuku permanently but Izuku denied as he was going to UA Academy. Izuku is now seen to be on his way to a showroom along with a curious Momo who managed to convince Izuku to take her with him. Momo turned to Izuku and asked, "Which brand are you going with?" Izuku answered, "Since we are going there anyways, it's Toyota." Momo nodded as they continued walking to their location. The two finally arrived at the showroom as Izuku turned to Momo and said, "Wait here for a few minutes, I already pre-ordered it so I just have to pay the rest and will get it." Momo nodded as Izuku went inside and showed the online receipt for the purchase. The manager who was at the counter happily took him to the car. It was customized to Izuku's interests. Izuku went for the top-end model as well. It costed him a total of $80,000 nearly. Momo saw a few cars coming out but none contained Izuku as she finally saw a big car with great ground clearance, huge tires and an exotic crimson-red base body with carbon roofing exiting the company. Momo had to admit, that was one very good-looking car. It stopped in front of her, the window rolled down and Izuku said, "Get in, Momo." Momo got in as they went out towards home. Momo was looking in awe at the carbon black interior as she praised Izuku. "Wow, Izuku. You have customized it too. It looks so awesome inside and out. You must have spent a lot on it." Izuku nodded as he said, "It was $80K in total." Momo had her mouth open as she exclaimed, "Wow, I never thought it was that expensive, almost the same cost as the Land Rovers too." Both drove home as Akira, Athena and Inko were waiting out in a table to see the car. Akira, who first saw it, exclaimed, "Damn, now that is one hell of car, he customized it too. That is a very good color as well." Inko was having proud tears escape her eyes as she wholeheartedly agreed to Akira. Izuku took everyone to lunch on his account. Akira complimented the interior design as Izuku made sure it was a 8-seater with an extra seat in the middle row where there is usually space to go in the back. Since it was still daytime, Izuku and everyone went to a movie and just drove around town while talking to each other. The car had great shocks, though was also silent. The two families arrived home at last after having dinner out too. It was a great relaxing day for all of them as Izuku said, "Well, I will go pack up for a few days for my drive." Inko was shocked as she asked, "Already? But you just got the car." Izuku said, "Well mom, there is not much time left and my tour is a 1-week plan." Momo then raised her hands as she asked, "Can I go with you?" Izuku gave an apologetic expression as he said, "Sorry Momo, I am going alone this time. We can go on a tour during holidays, okay?" Momo gave a dejected expression as she nodded at the after offer. Izuku drove him and Inko to their villa after dropping of the Yaoyorozu family as Izuku went straight to his room to pack all the things he would need. He packed 14 pairs where 7 were casual wear and 7 were sleepwear, swim shorts, power bank for his phone, a camera and basic utilities like soap, shampoo, conditioner, toothbrush and toothpaste. Izuku didn't have plans for camping as he already booked hotels and resorts in 7 different touring areas. He hoped it would go great as he thought. Third person POV. Izuku woke up at 6 a.m. Excited for the road trip he planned, Izuku got down to the kitchen as he saw his mom making breakfast. Izuku gave her a hug from behind as he said, "Good morning mom." Inko was surprised by 2 things. Izuku almost never gave her morning hugs once he reached his teens and there was a tone of excitement in his voice. Inko thought, he must be more excited for the trip than what I expected. It was true, a chibi Izuku was dancing in his mind waiting to finish breakfast and zoom out. After a while of eating breakfast, Izuku went back to his room as he went for a shower and after wearing the clothes he wanted, he came down with a suitcase and a normal backpack. Izuku gave Inko a goodbye hug which made Inko teary as this was the first time that Izuku was leaving her for a long time. 2. Izuku arrived outside as he stuffed the luggage into the trunk and got in the car and waved to his mom as he drove to the Yaoyorozu mansion to say goodbye to Yaoyorozu family. Izuku got to the door and rang the bell as a maid came and opened the door. She greeted Izuku with a smile and a bow familiar with seeing him almost every day. Izuku also gave a small wave and greeting her good morning as the maid went to wake up the still asleep family. It took some time to wake up Akira as Athena woke up pretty quickly to wish a safe journey to Izuku as Akira woke up after a bit of shaking and a threat from Athena. Momo woke up instantly as soon as she heard Izuku was here and went straight to the mirror as she adjusted her bed hair and the wrinkled pajamas and then zoomed downstairs leaving a giggling maid. The family pretty much came down at the same time apart from Momo crashing into Izuku and still complaining about him not taking her. Her parents laughed at the sight but helped Izuku pull off Momo from him. They wished him a safe journey though Momo has a raining cloud above her head as she wished him a safe journey. Izuku then hit the road. Since it was still early morning, there wasn't much traffic and Izuku saw quite a few heroes just patrolling the area. 30 minutes later, Izuku finally hit the highway as he started towards his first destination. The Haleway Resort 500 kilometers from Mustafa. It was a private beach resort with many activities there. Izuku's plan is to stay there till the next day evening and then go to a famous shrine in Kuo City where he had booked a inn nearby too for a night rest. 10. You might be wondering, why did Izuku book a resort even if it was for himself? Well, the resort is known for its varieties of water sports and cuisines which Izuku was interested in, and there was a circus the next day morning too. After 8 hours, Izuku, maintaining appropriate speed, reached the resorts and showed his phone which showed the booking paper as they guided him to his suite. Izuku put his luggage there and changed into his swimwear while also having a XL size white nylon t-shirt to cover his top. He first straight went to the water bikes. There was a time limit of 20 minutes which Izuku made the most of. He did fall off a couple times, but it was part of the fun. After his time was up, Izuku parked the water bike back and was thinking what to do. He felt someone approach him as a finger tapped him in the shoulder. He turned around and saw 2 women, one had darkish purple hair and the other had blondie hair. Both women were fairly tall, as the one with the dark midnight hair asked him, "Excuse me, do you mind joining us for the water sofa? The minimum members required were 3 and since we saw you, we thought of asking you." Izuku looked at the water sofa and thought, why not? He said, "Sure, I did want to try the ride too." It was basically a couch-shaped float with minimum 3 people sitting on it while it is pulled by a motor boat. One of the women put her hand forward as she said, "My name is Nimori Kayama and this is my friend and junior Yu Takayama." The blondie woman waved her hand as Izuku then said, "I am Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you too." 6. Midnight knew who he was. His performance in the entrance exam was not something which can be forgotten easily. It was really a coincidence that they met here. She was on a vacation and she pulled you with her too. Meanwhile, Mount Lady was confused. They were first gonna invite another woman who was nearby, but Nimori suddenly dragged her to this boy. 2. She gotta admit though, even though he has a mask, his body is quite hot, even more since he was drenched and his t-shirt was semi-visible. They all got in the couch as the motorboat driver took off. There was a lot of screams and shouts of enjoyment, even from Izuku too. They all had a thorough laugh when you fell off the couch when the driver made a sharp turn. Izuku bid the 2 women a thank you for inviting him and went to the waterboard sport. There wasn't a line for its sign. Most people were a bit scared of the sport. But Inko didn't raise no coward. Izuku went and paid the fees for it, as many people see him take off as he was holding on the handle attached to a long rope which was attached to the speedboat. Many people saw in awe at the fun Izuku was having. Izuku felt like a whole different person. He knew he can be faster with his chakra, but the excitement was there as he enjoyed himself. After a while, Izuku was back online as he saw a big line in front of the waterboard section. The workers gave him a thumbs up as thanks as Izuku gave a eye smile and went off to get dinner. Time skip next day afternoon. Izuku put his luggage in the car ready to leave. He had a fun time watching the circus and analyzing different quirks that the circus folk had. He even saw a couple quirkless performers who performed extremely well. After having lunch with the 2 women who he coincidentally met again, or so he think, Izuku was ready to go to the next destination, which was Kuo City, where there was a well-known shrine on top of a mountain which he wanted to visit. Izuku started his car and put on the music as he hit the road, singing while driving. 90 minutes later, he entered into the city and made his way directly to the shrine, wanting to spend the rest of the evening there and then go to the hotel he booked beforehand. Izuku put on the location of the shrine of his maps and started driving again. 30 minutes later, Izuku arrived at the base and parked his car as he started walking up the stairs. A few minutes later, he reached the summit. Izuku saw a woman in a shrine maiden outfit. The woman was decently tall and has a long black hair tied into a ponytail. She had yellow amber eyes and a gentle smile on her face. Izuku approached as he asked, "Hello miss. Why is the shrine so empty today?" The woman turned around and with a smile said, "Oh, we closed for today, sorry." Izuku sighed as he said, "I came from far town since it was a famous one." Shuri felt a bit bad for Izuku as she decided one thing and asked, "Well, why don't you come in? I will show you around the shrine and you can pray too." Izuku perked up and thanked the women as she said, "I am Shuri Himehime. I am the main shrine maiden here. I got a daughter about your age." Izuku bowed as he said, "Thanks for the invitation. I am Izuku Midoriya. I am on a trip by myself to let loose before UA begins." Shuri had a bit of an amazed expression as she asked, "Oh. You got in you, too?" Izuku nodded as Shuri smiled and said, "You must meet my daughter then, she also got in you a hero course in Class 1A. Izuku nodded at the info and said, "I am in Class 1A too, miss, I would love to meet your daughter." Shuri then made a sign to Izuku to follow her as they both went into the house. Shuri then called out, "Akeno. Dear, we have a visitor." A few seconds later, a girl came down. She was a carbon copy of her mother but a bit short and has purple eyes. The girl then saw Izuku as she gave a smile as she asked, "And who are you, sir?" Shuri then said, "Akeno, this is Izuku Midoriya. He came to visit the shrine from afar, and after a short conversation, it seems that you both will be in the same year and class in UA." Akeno had a surprised expression but accepted as the family showed Izuku around the shrine. Izuku spent quite a bit of time there and left after exchanging contacts with Akeno. Izuku then left the shrine and made his way to the hotel for a night rest. Third person POV. Izuku is finally back from his trip. He met up with the Himahima family on the way back too and found out about Akeno's quirk too. Her quirk is lightning magic. She can create, shoot and control the lightning which she makes with the help of her stamina. Izuku was in awe about the quirk because it was a very useful one too. 2. Izuku recommended Akeno to learn how to use staff as a weapon too, which after seeing some merits, she agreed. Home sweet home, thought Izuku as he arrived in front of the main security gates. Flashing his card, the gates opened as he went directly to meet his mom first cause he missed her quite a bit. He rang the bell, footsteps were heard as Inko opened the door. Inko made a wide smile seeing Izuku as she said, "Welcome back son, how was your trip?" Izuku made a smile as he hugged his mom and said, "It was very fun mom, I even made a new friend and their quirk was so awesome." Inko chuckled glad that Izuku still had his geekiness for quirks. Izuku let go as he asked, "What's for lunch then mom?" Inko quickly answered, "Well, I will start making it and call Momo's family to eat with us too, I am sure they have missed you too." Izuku nodded as he pulled out his phone and searched up Athena's contact. Izuku then tapped on call as the phone rang a few times till Athena answered. Athena. "Ah, Izuku, how is your trip going?" Izuku. "It went really well aunt, I just got back." Athena. "You didn't stop by to greet us. I am hurt." Izuku. "Sorry aunt but I missed mom so I came here first." Athena. "I was just joking, so why did you call?" Izuku. "Mom asked me to invite you three to lunch she is preparing." Athena. "Oh, Inko's cooking. Count me in, I will call the rest too, see you in a bit Izu-chan." Izuku. "See you in a bit too aunt." Izuku hung up as he informed his mom that they agreed to arrive for lunch and went to place his luggage back in his room. Izuku finished placing his stuff back and putting the used clothes in the laundry bucket. He then heard the door bell ring as he heard, "Izuku, get the door please, I am cooking." From Inko as he went to the main door and opened it. Izuku first saw Momo as she said, "Welcome back Izu-kun. How was your trip alone?" Izuku smiled hidden by his mask as he answered, "It was a joyful one for me Momo, what did you do these past days?" Momo just gave another beaming smile as she said, "I took this time to hang out with Kyoka and Tatsuma-san." Athena then gave Izuku a hug as she said, "Ah, Izu-chan. I missed you so much these days, you should have taken me and Momo with you too." Athena was side-glancing at Momo who was glaring at her mother as Akira laughed and said, "Now dear, enough teasing, tell me Izuku. Which places did you go?" Izuku guided them into the hall as they all sat in sofas as Izuku recounted his trip to them. Momo then gave a whine as she said, "Mo. That sounds so fun. You are never again taking a trip without me Izu-kun." Everyone laughed as Inko arrived with the dishes as everyone pounced on the food. Time skip next day morning. Izuku is seen in front of the mirror checking his UA outfit as he thought, "Not bad, a bit tight but that's fine for me." He then put on his mask and took his car keys too as he went down. Izuku already applied for the vehicle permission with the school and got the sticker which should be on the front window of the car so that the security scanner will allow him in. Izuku then got down as Inko spotted him and said, "You look really good in the uniform Izu-chan." Izuku gave a eye smile as he said, Thanks mom, I need to pick up Momo and go now, bye. Inko waved bye as she watched Izuku take his biggest step towards his dream. Izuku saw that the skies were blue and clear. Perfect day for the first day of high school, he thought as he unlocked the door with a button and got into the driver's seat. He pressed the start button as the engine started and Izuku drove towards Momo's house. Momo heard the car horn and turned her head as she saw the crimson car stop beside her. She got in and strapped on the seatbelt. Izuku started driving again as Momo turned to him and said, "Good morning Izuku. Looking forward to today." Izuku nods his head as he said, "Yep, we got Kyoka in our class too as well as the girl I told you I met in my trip." Momo then gave a little pout which Izuku didn't notice as she thought, "Mo Izuku, I am glad you are making friends, but why are all your new friend female?" Izuku then flashed the card as the gates opened up and he drives onto the road leading to UA. Izuku was planning on using the car every day. He didn't care much about the fuel prices since some people with fuel creation related quirks are in the fuel business and the number of people owning vehicles decreased too, so the fuel prices were not costly at all. Momo then asked, "Do you think our classmates will be good?" Momo, having no experience with school stuff, was obviously nervous as Izuku chuckled and said, "No need to worry Momo, I am sure UA does full background check before selecting their hero course students." Momo nodded as her worries were lessened to a degree as she then talked to Izuku on how she should introduce herself. 30 minutes later, both arrived at the gate. Izuku saw his watch and saw that they were 20 minutes early. No wonder there weren't many students at all. The gate had a screen which gave a green light as Izuku drove in and parked the car at the parking spot near the entranceways. Izuku and Momo got out and the car did catch attention of students who were there as they murmured to themselves. Izuku told Momo to ignore the murmurs as they both walked into the building hallway to the map. Momo memorized the way quickly as they both started walking again. A few minutes of walking later as they both came in front of the huge doors, Momo commented, "Must be for some students who were really tall due to mutation quirks." Izuku nodded, opting to stay silent for now as they both pushed the doors open and walked in. Izuku saw two students there. One being the blue-haired tall guy with specs who he remembered from the entrance exams, and the other being an average tall teen with half red and half white hair which Izuku guessed might be related to his quirk. Izuku and Momo walked to their seats, which were number 19 and 20. Momo had an internal cheer, happy that Izuku's seat was right behind her. Izuku sat on the 20 number seat as Momo sat in front of him as they both just conversed to themselves till others arrived. A few minutes later, students started arriving in as a few of the cheery people started to get to know the person behind them. Then came in Akano. Her seat number was 15, she looked around as she saw Izuku, her face gained a smile as she walked towards them. Akano then sat at her desk and turned to Izuku and said, "Hello Midoriya-kun. Glad to see we are next to each other." Izuku gave an eye smile as he said, "Hello Himahima-san, I hope you have moved into your new apartment comfortably. This here is Momo Yaoyorozu, I told you about." Akano then turned to Momo as she offered her hand and said, "Ah. So you were Yaoyorozu-san, Izuku told me a lot about you, it's nice to make your acquaintance." Momo gave a smile as she shook Akano's hand and said, "It's nice to meet you too Himahima-san. Please call me Momo, my last name is rather long." Akano then said, "Alright Momo-san, please call me by my first name too, it is only fair." Momo nodded. Izuku smiled seeing both get along. He did notice both had the same hair color too. Izuku then sensed someone go over to the teacher podium slowly. He peeked in a yellow sleeping bag crawling like caterpillar and thought might be our teacher. I am surprised no one noticed that bright sleeping bag. Izuku then said, "Momo, Akano-san, our teacher is here. Let's pay attention." Izuku pointed at the direction as both girls saw the sleeping bag and then sat at attention. Aizawa, who saw this through a little gap, smirked a bit to himself as he thought, that green-haired kid sure is perceptive of his surroundings. Those girls were also quick to commands and saw me too. Aizawa then stood up, still in his sleeping bag, as he said, "Go somewhere else if you want to play at being friends." Everyone except our three were shocked as they stared at their presumably homeroom teacher as Aizawa said, "This is the hero course. No one even noticed me when I came in except for Izuku Midoriya, the green-haired boy." Instantly the attention was on Izuku as everyone scrambled to their seats. Aizawa then came out of his sleeping bag and pulled out ton of clothes with same design as he said, "Pick the one with your names and come to the field in 5 minutes, I discourage wasting time." Everyone hurried as they grabbed the gym clothes with their names and zoomed to the changing rooms. A few minutes later, Izuku and Bakugo were the first ones to arrive. Aizawa looked at them and said, "Good, you two know the value of time." Izuku nodded at the praise along with Bakugo. A few seconds later, stomping sounds were heard as everyone else arrived. Jirou and Momo stood together as Akino joined with Izuku. Izuku had to admit, the clothes fit Akino quite well, they weren't tight on her breasts unlike the school uniform. Akino was openly checking out Izuku as she thought, I knew Midoriya-kun is fit but I didn't expect this. His muscles look ready to tear through those clothes. Akino's views were only a bit correct. The gym clothes were indeed tight on Izuku but since they were made with special material, they won't rip off easily. Momo on the side noticed Akino's expression and vision as she glared a bit at her. Akino, who noticed Momo's glare, had a small smile as she thought, seems like Momo-san is quite jealous at me. How cute. Aizawa then said, "Alright, since everyone has gathered. I am your homeroom teacher Shota Aizawa and it's time for the Quirk assessment test." Murmurs arose between the students as a girl with brown bob hair raised her hand and said, "But sir, aren't we supposed to attend the orientation first?" Aizawa then looked at her and said, "Teachers in UA are given permission to run their classes however they like and I personally see orientation as a waste of time. Now the tests are same as your physical tests in your middle schools but you are allowed to use yours quirks here." "Yes, finally we are allowed to use our quirks freely. I always wondered how my scores would be with quirks. Sweet, this will be a lot of fun." Aizawa then glared a bit at the female student with pink hair who said the last line as he said, "Fun, you say? Alright then, whoever gets last place in this test will be expelled." Many disagreements about it being not fair were voiced by few of the students while the others were silent to themselves preparing for the tests. Aizawa rose his voice as he said, "Being a hero is a lot of hardship and you will have a number of obstacles in your way. Our job is to prepare you properly for them. There is no such thing as fair in this career." "Understood." The students shut up and nodded their heads as Aizawa said, "Good, you will have be tested in ball throw, standing long jump, 50-meter dash, long distance run, grip strength, repeated side steps, seated toe touch and sit-ups. As I mentioned, you are allowed to use your quirks." Third person POV. Aizawa after naming each exercises looked towards Izuku as he said, "Izuku Midoriya, as the top scorer in the physical exam, you demonstrate the ball throw." Izuku nodded as he stepped up in the circle with the ball in hand. Izuku using chakra stuck the ball to his hand and made hand signs with the other hand as he thought, wind style, gale palm. Right when the jutsu was about to hit, Izuku released his hold of the ball as it got hit with the jutsu and was launched into the sky breaking a few sound barriers. Izuku looked at Aizawa who looked at the meter. Aizawa then turned to the class and said, "You have to know your maximum limit first." He then showed the score to the class. That is the most rational way to form the foundation of a hero. Everyone saw the score read 1589 m. Whoa, wow, that is such a high score. Are you kidding? How can we match that? God damn, 1589 meters. As expected of Izuku-kun. Bakugo, who closely observed, thought, as his quirk related to air, "I don't know but it's strong. I doubt my explosions can take it half as far." 5. Aizawa then said, "Like the school's motto, you guys have to perform plus ultra to remain in this career." Everyone had nervous beads of sweat as Aizawa gains a scary grin as he says, "Now that the demonstration is over, let's start the real test." The class nods as everyone starts to warm up by themselves. First test. 50-meter dash. Iida and Tsuyu were the first against each other. The robot said start as both of them dashed to the finish. Iida, due to his quirk, managed to get 3.04 seconds. Tsuyu, who jumped horizontally with less height and more forward force, got 5.58 seconds. Iida thought, since it was only 50 meters, I could only change up to third gear. 1x1 everyone went. Most people whose quirk wasn't related to speed or physical enhancement got between 6.80 to 8 with a short purple ball-haired boy getting the lowest. It was finally Izuku and Bakugo turn as both went to the start line. Bakugo stood leaning forward with his hands facing back to propel himself with explosions. Meanwhile Izuku just stood with his hands in his pocket. 3. The robot said began as Izuku instantly flashed to the finish as the robot read, 0.13 seconds. Bakugo didn't let the shock distract him as he propelled himself past the finish as the robot announced, 4.56 seconds. The class was shocked at Izuku's score. Even Aizawa, who saw the entrance exam footage, witnessing it live was a new thing as he thought that was so fast. I blinked and he was in finish. That speed is a big plus in a battle if he can control it. Izuku hemmed at his fastest speed with flash step. He didn't reveal his lightning step because he wants it as a trump card. Izuku was swarmed by his classmates as they all asked him questions. Izuku's sweat dropped as Aizawa announced the next test, which made everyone pay attention. Second test. Grip strength. Izuku, who practiced years to hold the Kubikiribocho, knew he can do well on his own strength but wanted to add chakra to see what the results would be. One by one everyone did the grip strength. Momo got the highest amongst girls, followed by Ochako and Akano. Momo created a mini hydraulic press which took the grip strength to 1000 kgs. Izuku saw the guys yelling in excitement as he saw the guy with multiple arms get a score of 540 with 3 of his arms. Izuku was last as he took the grip machine and gripped it while also adding a small amount of chakra to strengthen his muscles. His score was 520 kg. Izuku was satisfied by it as the shortest boy who saw his score yelled, "Are you a monster? 520 with only one arm." 2. His class once again wanted to ask a load of questions, but Izuku put his arm up and said, "I will explain later in class." Everyone nodded as Aizawa told the next test. Third test. Standing long jump. Aizawa explained, "Without any run-up, you are supposed to jump as far as you can from neutral position on the sand. If you crossed it, you are measured as, crossed the sand pit." Izuku saw Uraraka, who went first. She first jumped and touched her exposed elbow, which made her float forwards as she then touched all her fingers together and said, "Release," as she landed over the pit. Izuku was impressed with the quirk as he thought her quirk defies gravity itself. But she has to be mega careful not to send someone to the orbit. Bakugo and Tsuyu also managed to clear the sand pit as it was Izuku's turn now. Izuku stood as he applied chakra to his feet and took a giant leap up to a height of 100 feet and landed quite a bit away from the sand pit. After his turn, it was Momo's. She then created a pogo stick with extra spring to it as she also cleared the sand pit easily. Akano was seen making wings of lightning as she flew over the sand pit. Izuku was amazed by her quirk. It's like a fantasy game where you can control the element to do anything. Fourth test. Repeated side steps. Izuku did good on it due to his flexibility and acrobatics training, but the purple short boy took the first place with Momo in second as she created mini trampolines angled in a way she can jump between them faster. Fifth test. Ball throw. Izuku decided to sit this one out as he saw many of his classmates use their quirk in creative ways to get scores, like Akano, who threw her ball and then hit it with a lightning strike. YHC propelled it till 400 meters. Momo made an entire cannon as she got 1800 meters. Uraraka was the shocker as she got infinity like Izuku expected. Bakugo did well as he got 597 meters. Izuku, having a bit free time, analyzed his classmates, thinking about their quirks and their personalities. The pink-haired girl and the invisible girl were both social butterflies. The yellow-haired guy with a lightning strike mark on his hair was a comedian type, as the red-haired one was a muscle head. 1. Sixth test. Sit-ups. Everyone were partnered up with one person to do the sit-ups. Izuku got the highest number with 230, followed by a 150 by Kirishima and a 140 by Sato. Seventh test. Seated toe touch. This test is to determine how much you can bend forward and reach with your fingers while sitting. Izuku got first due to his long arms and flexibility, followed by Momo and Mina. Eighth test. Long distance run. This test is not to determine how far you can run but how long you can keep running. Izuku and Iida were in lead with a fast pace, while Iida was in second gear to keep up with Izuku's normal running. Momo was following them in a bicycle run by electricity. At 10 minutes mark, the invisible girl and the shortest boy dropped out, followed by the tape boy and earphone jack girl in 20 minutes. Then the rest except Momo, Kirishima, Iida and Izuku dropped out between 30 to 35 minutes. Kirishima was gone by 40 minutes whereas Momo ran out of lipids and battery to supply electricity as she and Iida dropped out at 1 hour exactly. Izuku was sweating a little but otherwise good and ready to keep running, but Aizawa stopped him seeing he was the last one left. Aizawa then faced the exhausted class except Izuku and Momo as he said, "I am not gonna show the individual scores, so here is your combined scored. 1. Izuku Midoriya. 2. Momo Yaoyorozu. 3. Shoto Todoroki. 4. Tenya Iida. 5. Katsuki Bakugo. 20. Minoru Mineta. Mineta started yelling, "No, I can't be expelled already, my plan didn't even start." Everyone looked at the crying and distraught boy as Aizawa said, "Well, the expelling part was just a ruse. Now go, you have lunch in 30 minutes and you have rest of the afternoon off and the classes will officially start from tomorrow." 9. Everyone were in shock as Momo said, "Huh, I thought everyone knew he was just kidding. Maybe I should have said it greater than, yay no kidding," thought most of the students as Izuku chuckled to himself as he thought typical Momo. Everyone then returned to the changing room. After changing, everyone went to the classroom as students either talked to their neighbor or kept to themselves. The blue-haired specs guy then go to the podium which got everyone's attention as he said, "Why don't we all introduce ourselves? It will be good to know our classmate's name and quirk." Everyone agreed as one by one they all introduced themselves. People were introducing themselves in seating order. Now it was Akino's turn to introduce herself. She stood up and with a gently smile said, "Hello. I am Akino Himahima, daughter of the head priestress of the Himahima Shrine in Kuo City. My likes are cooking, spending time with friends and experimenting with my quirk. My quirk is lightning magic. I can create magic circles to create and control lightning in any manner and power at the cost of my stamina." Everyone clapped for her as it continued till it was the last. Izuku stood up as he said, "Well, I am Izuku Midoriya. I like my friends, music, playing guitar and training with my quirk. My quirk is called internal energy. The energy travels through my body through more than 300 points. I can control the energy to enhance myself or I can convert it into elemental energies such as fire, water, lightning, earth and wind. I can also channel this chakra in ways I will keep a secret for now." Everyone was in shock listening to Izuku's quirk as many commented on its versatility and usage while Momo knows how much more uses it has and how hard Izuku worked with it. The pink-haired girl, Mina then stood up as she asked, "By the way Midoriya and Shoji, why do you both wear masks to cover the lower part of your faces?" Shoji first answered, "My mouth is very wide and I got sharp teeth which might scare kids so I am adopting to this mask to control the factor." Izuku then said, "I just like it like this." Mina hesitated but accepted Izuku's answer as it was finally time for lunch as everyone went for it. Izuku was walking together with Akino, Momo and Jirou as they were making their way to lunch. Mineta, who saw the girls talking freely to Izuku, thought, "That bastard, I bet that his face is ugly under the mask, I will reveal it and make his popularity zero." Mineta had fire in his eyes as he started planning his ways. Izuku and the rest appreciated the lunch as it was made by the hero Lunch Rush. Midoriya had stars in his eyes as he even asked for an autograph from the said hero, causing Momo to chuckle at his adorable enthusiasm. After lunch was over, students returned to their classes. Hero course had the free afternoon so everything just talked or are making friends with each other when suddenly the door opened revealing an orange-haired girl who walked in with 19 other students. The orange-haired girl then said, "Hello Class 1A, we are Class 1B, we are here to introduce ourselves since we all will be working together in future." A blondie then yelled, "You must be kidding Kendo, why must we the superior class get along with this low?" The orange-haired girl chopped his neck as he fell unconscious as everyone else sweat dropped while Bakugo thought, "Why does that dude attitude seem familiar to me?" 4. A vine-haired girl who was looking around spotted Izuku as she smiled and made her way to him. She then bowed and said, "Arigato Midoriya-san, you have saved me from a big fate. The school has told me too. My parents would also like to thank you after school." Izuku nervously shook his hands around as he said, "It's alright miss, I did what any hero will do. I am glad you are okay right now and in hero course too." The girl smiled as she said, My name is Ibara Shiozaki, Midoriya-san, perhaps fate has put us together to meet each other after all. Duh, why do you think I am introducing 1B to 1A so early? Izuku just gave her eye smile as everyone clapped a bit for Izuku, and 1B students started introducing themselves with the blondie-haired boy from before who tried to diss our class again but got threaded with another chop by Itsuka Kendo as he silently murmured his introduction as Class 1A was amused by his situation. Third person POV. Both classes mingled amongst each other except for the silent types. Momo was just spending his time glaring at the Class 1A students. Ibara went straight to Izuku to befriend him. Midoriya-san, how many points did you get in total in the physical exam? Asked Ibara as Izuku thought for a second and answered, I got 196 points. Ibara-san, what about you? Ibara looked in awe as she said, that is such a high score. Mine was 64, have you beaten the record Midoriya-san? Izuku nodded as they kept conversing with each other. Akano was listening to them both while also introducing herself too. Not wanting to be left out. Momo found a kindred spirit in Kendo as they both made quick friends much like Tetsu and Kirishima. The silent black-haired poker-face girl from 1B, Yui Kodai, was conversing with Tsuyu while Setsuna was trying to get into Shoto's nerves, which was not working with the dense idiot. The boys of 1B and 1A except Monoma and Shoto got along well as they were discussing everyday things and their training schedules. An hour later the end bell rang as the students packed their stuff and left the classroom. Izuku nodded at Momo as they both went together towards the parking spot. Izuku got out the keys as they both got in and drove away, ignoring the awe and shocked gazes of some of their classmates and other students. Next day, so normal, was the thought of most of the 1A students because apart from their hero training they will also receive normal high school education in subjects like history, maths, English and science. It was after lunch break that all the students were pumped up for their first basic hero training class. Nay, who do you think will teach us? We had heroes as teachers for other subjects, so maybe some popular hero like the top 50. I hope with all might, the manliest hero. The murmurs stopped as everyone heard loud and fast footsteps as All Might burst through the door holding the edges with his hand as he yelled, I am coming through the door like a normal person. Gazes filled with awe and excitement filled the class as everyone paid attention to the number one hero who was their teacher now as students commented, it's All Might. Wow, he really is a teacher. This is the best. That is a costume from the Silver Age, right? Its style is so different. It's giving me goosebumps. All Might arrived at the podium as he said, I am teaching basic hero training. It is the subject where you train in different ways to learn the basics of being a hero. The students nodded in understanding as All Might continued, now, your first class will be. All Might showcased a card which read, Combat, as he said, Combat Training. Combat Training, and to go with that is these. All Might dragged out as he pointed at the odd painted parts of the walls which extended revealing suitcases. All Might continued, hero costumes. Made out of your Quirk registrations and the requests you sent before the school started. Now go change and gather at ground beta. Everyone rushed as they snatched their suitcases and ran to the changing room while Izuku flashed there before everyone to avoid the crowding. Izuku's costume was very simple. It was a black bodysuit which covers everything from his neck down. The bodysuit was sleeveless. Izuku wanted access to his storage tattoos. There was chainmail armor around his stomach and chest part and also a gray chest guard on the bodysuit. Izuku of course has arm guards and leg guards to defend against physically strong opponents, and his new mask, made with more durable material, and he has a small white collar type scarf around his neck, a gift from his mother. Izuku arrived first as he saw All Might there. All Might was shocked but smiled and said, you changed fast Midoriya Shonen, now wait for your classmates. Izuku got an idea as he jumped high and attached himself on the wall above the entrance as he was standing horizontally on the wall. All Might was a bit surprised but knew from the footage and figured out Izuku's plan as he decides to go with it. Slowly All Might heard footsteps as he saw the students coming out slowly from the dark as he said, as they say, clothes make the man. Everyone came out as their costumes was visible and All Might continued, from this point on, you all are considered heroes. All students looks at their classmates' costumes as they all complimented each other. Wow Iida, you have a robot costume. Mina, your outfit looks rad. I can only see Toru's boots and gloved, don't tell me she is naked. Murmurs went around but suddenly Denki asked, "Hey, where is Midoriya?" Izuku then jumped as he landed behind Denki and said, "Here." Denki let out a girlish scream as everyone laughed at him with Izuku chuckling as Momo inspected him and said, "Izu-kun, your costume looks great." Izuku smiles as he looks at Momo's costume and says, "Yours is wonderful to Momo, I am glad you have taken my suggestion about the body cloak." Momo beamed as she said, "Thanks Izu-kun." Akano then walked up as Izuku saw her and commented, "A homage to home I see, nice costume Akano-san." Akano smiled as she was in her shrine maiden costume while also having a chainmail armor covering all her neck down below the kimono. Akano smiled as she said, "Your costume is also quite good Izuku-san, it is showing your V-shape quite well." Akano's eyes wandered over Izuku's figure while Momo immediately bonked her with a toy hammer as she glared and said, "No horny." Akano giggled as Momo kept her glare while Izuku went to talk with Jirou. All Might then announced, due to increase in crimes happening indoors like drug deals, thefts, assassinations and backdoor deals, heroes should learn how to fight indoors without dealing any damage to public and surroundings. And this time, you will not fight robots but your classmates. The students nodded as they asked questions. How are we being split? How are the winners and losers determined? Will the punishment be expulsion like with Aizawa sensei? I will answer your questions. All Might brought out a script as Izuku's sweat dropped as All Might read. The situations is that the villains have hidden a nuclear weapon somewhere in the building and the heroes will try to capture the nuclear weapon safely within time limit or defeat and capture the villains, and the villains will be guarding the bomb till time limit or capture the heroes. The teams will be split in two and will be decided randomly. Izuku thought, seems like American style. Iida commented, the teams are being decided so haphazardly. Izuku turned to him and said, it's because heroes often team up with unknown heroes depending on the situation. Maybe this is for that. Iida nodded as All Might instructed everyone to pick up number balls. The teams are Team A, Izuku and Akano. Team B, Shoto and Shoji. Team C, Momo and Mineta. Team D, Bakugo and Iida. Team E, Mina and Uraraka. Team F, Sato and Koda. Team G, Denki and Jirou. Team H, Tsuyu and Tokiyami. Team I, Ojiro and Hagekure. Team J, Siro and Kirishima. Akano gave a gentle smile to Izuku as she said, this must be fate. Let's do our best Izuku-san. Izuku gave her eye smile and said, likewise Himahima-san. All Might then put in hands in two boxes with names, villain and hero, as he pulled out one ball from each and said, looks like Team are the heroes and Team D are the villains. The villains will be given 5 minutes to strategize and place their nuclear weapon. Iida and Bakugo first took the bomb in as Izuku approached Akano and said, do you have a plan Akano-san? Akano thought for a moment and said, why don't I be the distraction while you can easily touch the bomb with your speed Izuku-san? Izuku then thought and said, won't they be suspicious if only you attack? Kurama, who heard this, commented, oh, this human girl seems to have quite a quick thinking skills for age. Izuku nodded as he thought, yes, Akano-san is very intelligent and I am impressed how easily manipulate lightning with the magic circles. I bet it is more complex than it appears. Kurama also agreed. Akano then giggled a bit scarily and said, they won't have the time to. Izuku gave an awkward laugh as Kurama commented, be careful kid, this girl seems to have some thoughts. As Akano was whispering to herself as suddenly All Might announced, the hero team have 10 minutes. Go. Izuku then said, wait, let me first sense it Akano-san. Akano nodded as Izuku closed his eyes and spread out his senses and found them on the 3rd floor as he opened his eyes and said, 3rd floor. Left corner room. Akano nodded as she created a magic circle on her back as lightning wings came and she took off to the 3rd floor. Izuku also flash-stepped on the wall next to the room as he awaited his chance. With the villain team, Iida just placed the weapon on the room Bakugo suggested as Bakugo then said, good, since they only have one entry and exit, we can both ambush them at once. Iida nodded but said, we should be careful about Midoriya-san's speed though. Bakugo nodded remembering the speed he saw yesterday. Suddenly the wall beside them blasted, revealing a smiling Akeno with a magic circle ready in her hand as she was flying with lightning wings as she said, "Era, I hope you villains will give up, otherwise I would have to hurt you." Bakugo and Iida had a chill ran down their spine as Akeno then continuously started releasing bolts of thunder as both were busy trying to dodge them. Izuku, who peeked through a hole seeing Bakugo and Iida dancing to Akeno's lightning while Akeno had her sweet smile become more big, saw his opportunity as he used Flash Step and bounced from the next building and appeared next to the bomb. Akeno, who saw Izuku appear, stopped spamming lightning bolts as she said, "Era, I am not the only hero though." Alarmed Bakugo and Iida looked to the bomb as Izuku touched the bomb and waved at them with an eye smile. All Might's announcement was head. The hero team has captured the weapon. It's the hero team's victory. Izuku approached Akeno as they both gave each other a high five as Iida and Bakugo sighed to themselves. The four went back to the camera room as All Might said, "Now students, who do you think is the VIP?" Momo raised her hand as she said, "Both members of hero team are the VIP, sir." Since Akeno-san managed to plan out the best plan with her teammates' Quirk in mind, and Izuku-san implemented the plan perfectly using his accurate speed. All Might nodded as he said, "Wonderful observation, Yaoyorozu Shonen, your hypothesis is indeed right. Now the next are Team B versus Team I. Team B versus Team I. Team B Shoto and Shoji wins. Team J versus Team H. Team H Tokiyami and Suyu wins. Team C vs Team E. Team C Momo wins. Mineta was not even in the match underscore. Team F versus Team G. Team HarshaJirou and Denki wins, though Denki ended up in Yay mode for next hour. The class was close ending since everyone has done their battles as All Might called everyone to the ground beta's entrance and said, "Yosh everyone, we had a good class today, everyone took it seriously and no one had any major injuries. You all did well except a few mistakes which I have already pointed out at the review session. Now I will have to go bye." All Might zoomed away as the class commented, "That was a cool exit. Midoriya is faster though, right? It might be close." The students conversed as they made their way to the changing rooms. The class waited as Denki and Uraraka were called to carry out the textbooks to be distributed. Denki took his chance as he conversed with Uraraka, who was glad to make more friends as they agreed upon a hangout at a mochi place. "I can already feel the hate comments. But in my defense, Uraraka wasn't saved by Izuku, so she doesn't have that special bond with him and she was clearly gonna accept Denki's offer in anime." The books were distributed as everyone said goodbye to each other and left singularly or in group. Izuku approached Momo as he said, "You did really good, Momo, in your match. As usual your strategy skills are top-notch. You must have had a hard time with your teammate though." Momo let out a sigh in anger remembering her teammate as she said, "You saw how much he was disturbing me, I had to tie him up." Izuku laughed at Momo's misery as they both got in the car and drove home. Third person POV. It's the third day for the first years of UA. Izuku and Momo were on their way to the school. They just arrived in front of the gate and saw a huge mob of media just questioning students left and right as Momo was confused, but Izuku said, "Just tell we are in business course and we don't know anything." Momo nodded as Izuku continued driving. Just when he reached the gate, the media mobbed the car as they tapped on the window. Izuku, a bit peeved, rolled down the windows as a reporter shoved their mics to his face as he heard questions. "Are you from the hero course? Is it true All Might is teaching in UA? How is it having All Might as a teacher?" Izuku then said, "I am sorry but we don't know since we are from business course." The media instantly dispersed, leaving a irritated but relieved Izuku and a baffled Momo as Izuku drove to the parking lot. Time skip. Izuku is seen listening intently to present Mike during the English period and writing down important points. The bell rang as present Mike said, "All right folks, that is it for today's class. Review your lesson today at home, all right?" A chorus of, "Yes sensei," was heard as present Mike left the classroom. Izuku looked at the timetable and saw it was Aizawa's class now, right on cue. Aizawa came in as everyone instantly became silent as Aizawa-sensei was not in his sleeping bag. He then came up to the podium and said, "All right class, today we will choose your class representative and your vice representative. I don't care how, I want it done by the end of this period and don't make too much noise." Everyone gave a nod in understanding. Sensei got in his sleeping bag as Momo stood up and said, "Why don't we all vote for who we seen so far will be suitable for the class representative position? But no voting for yourselves." Everyone agreed as Momo tore papers into square pieces and distributed it to everyone and said, "Now, everyone, cast your vote and fold it so that it won't be revealed to anyone else." Everyone nodded to the instructions as they began thinking and scratching their heads wondering who to vote, while Izuku already voted since after seeing Momo take charge, he had no hesitation in voting for her. A few minutes later, Momo made a small bowl as she collected everyone's votes and then gave them to the now awake Aizawa, who grunted a bit before getting up to tally the votes. A minute later, Aizawa announced, "With 12 votes, the class representative will be Momo Yaoyorozu, and with 8 votes, the vice representative will be Izuku Midoriya." Izuku raised an eyebrow while Kurama commented, "Interesting, seems like you managed to catch the attention of quite a few classmates." Izuku gave a mental nod as he got up along with Momo, who was trying hard to keep a poker face while the edges of her mouth were curled up. Both got to the podium beside Aizawa as Momo bowed a bit and said, "Thank for choosing me as the class representative. I will be sure not to let anyone down and will carry out my duties with my utmost ability." Izuku also bowed a bit and said, "I am honestly shocked I got voted, but I will make sure to help you guys and the class representative to the best of my abilities." Everyone clapped a bit as comments were heard, "I can get behind Yaoyorozu and Midoriya. Yaoyorozu is clearly good at leading from what we saw, so I am cool with this. Midoriya is strong and level-headed too, so he is the best vice representative for us." Izuku and Momo got back to their seats as a few minutes later, the bell rang signaling lunchtime. People already got into their groups leaving for lunch, while some preferred eating in peace, such as Todoroki, Tokiyami and Shoji. Izuku and Momo were joined by Jirou and Akino as the four went to get their lunch. After getting their lunch and finding a table to sit and eat, Momo commented, "I am honestly shocked that I got votes as class representative." Jirou laughed a bit as she said, "With how you can easily take charge, I am not surprised." "I did vote for you." Akino nodded as she said, "I know people would vote for you, so I gave my vote for Midoriya-san since he would be your best vice representative." Momo nodded, since indeed it was best to have someone you know the best as vice representative. Izuku swallowed the rice and said, "I voted for Momo since she seems eager during the period." Momo gave a bit of an embarrassed smile as she said, "Well, I voted for Izuku since I know how strong and reliable he is." Izuku gave her eye smile as the group continued their lunch. Suddenly alarms were blaring as all the students, including the seniors, started panicked, while Izuku managed to ask one of them, "Excuse me senpai, what is the alarm for?" The senior with clear panic on his face immediately said, "You don't know, it means someone has broken through the UA barrier, which means a villain attack." The senior ran as Izuku sighed as he turned to the girls and said, "Stay seated here, let me see from the window and then we will take our next course of action." Izuku flashed to the window while standing upside down on the ceiling and saw that it was not a villain attack, but the media seemed to somehow break through the barrier. Izuku flickered back to the table as he said, "It's not a villain attack, it's just the media." The girls were relieved as Momo saw a few students getting stomped as she stood up and said, "We have to calm them down somehow, a few students are getting stomped." Izuku was instantly alarmed as he said, "Momo, make a huge microphone, I will cause a distraction." Momo nodded while she got on the table and finished making a microphone as Izuku then gathered wind chakra on the palms off both his hands. Izuku then suddenly clapped as a lot of wind energy was dispersed, making a huge sound as Jirou winced in pain and clutched to her ears. The sound got the crowd's attention easily as Momo took the chance. She said, "Everyone please clam down, see out of the windows. It's not the villains and only the media. Please exit in an orderly manner and help those who are trampled because of your recklessness." Many people put their heads down in shame as a few students helped the trampled students to the nurse office and the bell rang and everyone exited the lunchroom to go back to their classes. Izuku then bowed a bit to Jirou and said, "I am sorry about that, Jirou, I should have warned you about it." Jirou gave a weary smile and said, "I would appreciate a warning next time, Izuku-san, and it's fine. You both did manage to calm everyone with it." Izuku still had a bit of guilt as they all walked back to their classes. Upon entering, Izuku and Momo were instantly greeted by their classmates surrounding them as they heard, Yaoyorozu-san, you controlled the situation so well. Midoriya, your distraction worked really well. Man, I am glad we voted for you too. Yay, you guys made us proud. Aizawa came in as everyone instantly dispersed to their seats as he first looked at Izuku and Momo and said, I heard what you two did. On behalf of the staff, I am thanking you for calming down the crowd. If not, those students in the infirmary would have gotten more serious injuries. Izuku, remembering something, turned to Kirishima and asked, I also saw you getting trampled. Kirishima, are you sure you are okay? Kirishima gave a big grin and said, I was able to activate my quirk in time so I don't get any injuries at all. I nodded as Aizawa then said, for you won't have other classes but will have hero training for the whole day. It is a very important and essential part of hero training, which is the reason we are taking a whole day for it. Be sure to bring your own lunch boxes for tomorrow. The class nodded as Aizawa dismissed everyone for the day since the issue in Munch caused quite some panic and the teachers need to have a meeting. Izuku and Momo were leaving the building to go to Izuku's car when they heard someone yell, Izuku-san. Please wait. Both turned around as they saw Jirou running up to them as she panted a bit. Kurama commented, only for running for what, 100 meters? Izuku ignored him as Jirou then said, I need help from you, Izuku-san. Izuku pointed at himself as Jirou nodded and said, I am at a stalemate with my quirk and can't get any more ways for me to improve the attack power and range. Izuku hemmed a bit in thought and then said, have you tried increasing your own heartbeat to make your attacks more powerful? Jirou shook her head as she said, no, I don't think I can increase my heartbeat that quickly. Izuku then said, well, there is a way. Jirou then asked, how? Izuku then explained, sometimes you have your favorite songs or songs which make your beat faster, right? Jirou thought a bit and said, yep. Izuku continued, then record those songs and download them into a small iPod and then request for a headphones which you can wear at all times. And then press play during fights so your heartbeat will increase listening to it and you can strengthen your attacks. Jirou was shocked and then thought a bit and said, won't it be distracting? Izuku replied, then get a Bluetooth headphone on one ear only, since you have enhanced hearing too. You can clearly hear your surroundings with one ear anyways. You just need to practice and get used to it while fighting, which I am sure Momo can help you with. Momo gave a smile and said, I would gladly help Kyoka, I would love to have a sparring partner. Jirou gave a smile and owed a bit and said, thank for the help you both, and Momo, we will discuss the timing tomorrow, okay? Momo nodded as Kyoka turned around, waking on her way as Izuku and Momo got in the car and left to go home. Upon reaching Momo's house first, Athena came out as she greeting the two of them and asked, how was today, Izuku-kun and Momo-chan? Momo beamed with a smile and said, I was elected as class representative and Izuku-kun as vice representative. Athena smiled as she said, my, good job you two. Already declaring your dictatorship over everyone. Momo puffed her cheeks as she complained, okay-san, don't say it like that. Izuku smiled a bit as he gave his goodbyes and left to go home. Upon parking the car, Izuku came to the front door and rang the bell as Inko opened the door with a smile as Izuku told her what happened for the day. Third person POV. Currently we see Inko looking intently at Izuku wearing an apron and cooking as she said, if I take a picture of this, how much money will I make on the internet under the cation Azuki in apron? Izuku deadpanned at her as he said, I am pretty sure no one will pay for that, mom. Inko laughed lightly as she said, you never know son, you never know. 2. With that, Inko took a pic as Izuku packed his lunch box and put it in a container which he placed in his backpack as he went to change into his UA uniform. After changing, Izuku took his car keys and said goodbye to Inko as he got into his car and drove towards Momo's place. Stopping in the main driveway, Izuku honked as he waited for a minute as the doors opened and out came Momo. She got in as Izuku asked, did you get the lunch box? Momo nodded her head yes as Izuku drove towards their school. Time skip. After the students have changed into their hero costumes, Aizawa had everyone gather at the buses for a roll call. Alright, class reps, have everyone seated properly and have the loud ones in the far back away from me. Izuku and Momo nodded as they faced the class and Momo said, "Alright, Ashido-san, Kaminari-san, Kirishima-san and Toru-san are in the far back along with Mineta-san." The said five deflated a bit at being pointed out so fast as the noisy gang but got in the bus as Izuku then said, "The rest are allowed to sit however but do not make much noise." 4. Students nodded as everyone got into the buses and the driver set off to their destination. On the way, the students were chattering a bit but not loudly, but suddenly Kirishima with a loud voice commented, "You know, talking about flashy quirks, Midoriya, Bakugo and Todoroki have eye-catching ones. I wish mine was flashier too." Mina pat him in the back as he said, "You quirk is excellent for heroes Kiri, don't mind." Denki then said, "I am pretty sure it's gonna be hard for Mineta, he has the quirk but a straight-up dump-yard personality." A loud, "Hey," was heard as many laughed as Izuku saw Aizawa's eyes twitching and knew to not laugh. Not wanted to be included in a secret punishment. Momo sighed as she said, using words like a dump yard. These people's vocabulary. Izuku just chuckled a bit and said, "You just got to get used to it, Momo." The chattering continued as the bus finally arrived at the destination as Aizawa stood up and said, "Alright everyone, we are finally in our destination, the USJ, Universal Studios Japan." Being interrupted by Mina and Denki, Aizawa glared as he said, "As I was gonna say before being interrupted by two brainless individuals, this is unforeseen simulation joint. Built by Pro Hero and Teacher 13 who is also joining us. Now let's get down." 2. Uraraka commented, "Wow, we will see 13, my favorite hero. She is an expert in rescue." Everyone got down the buses as they stood in front the huge dome with their second teacher 13 waiting for them. Everyone stood in front of 13 who started his speech, "Listen students. This facility is created to create various simulations of dangerous situations and disasters and extreme climate conditions under which you will be training to rescue people in each situation." The class listens as Aizawa whispers to 13, "Isn't All Might supposed to be here?" 5. 13 whispers back, "Apparently he did too much hero work while on the way to school and is used up and is now resting up in the lounge in teacher's room." As if nursing a headache, Aizawa massaged his head as he commented, "That man is the height of irresponsibility. Well, we should be good with the two of us. Let's get started." 13 faced the class as he said, "Well class, before we begin I got one thing to say, maybe make it 2, possibly 3, 4, or 5. We get it. Anyways, I am sure most of you know my quirk, it's called Black Hole, I can suck up anything and turn it to dust." The students nodded as Uraraka said, "Yes sir, you have used it to save a lot of people." 13 continued, "It is also a power which can be easily used to kill if I am not careful. Some of you also have quirks which are quite dangerous. In our superhuman society, all quirks are certified and stringently regulated, so we often overlook how unsafe they actually are. Please don't forget that if you lose focus or make the wrong move, your powers can be very deadly. Even if you are trying to do something virtuous like saving someone." Thanks for Aizawa's fitness test, you all have a solid idea of your quirk's potential, and with All Might's combat class, you most likely experienced how dangerous your powers can be when used against others. Here, you won't be using your quirks to fight your enemies or each other, only to help. After all, being a hero is all about ensuring the safety of others. The students clap a bit at the speech as Aizawa leads everyone in. Suddenly the lights turn off as the teachers and students look around as Aizawa says, "Someone contact the school." 13 says, "This is not a drill, students stay behind us." Izuku spreads out his sensing as he then turns to Aizawa and says, "Sensei, there are a little more than 100 presences around the middle near the fountain." Aizawa grits his teeth as he thinks they must have got the schedule from the staff room after that fiasco at the gate. Suddenly Kirishima fist bumps himself as he says, "Sweet. We even got fake villains." Aizawa with a strong voice says, "They are not fake villains, Kirishima. This is a real attack, Kaminari keep contacting the school." Suddenly a blackish-purple mist spreads in the fountain area as more villains were teleported in as a man with a hand on his face and blue hair with wrinkled skin says, "So we only got Aizawa and 13 huh? According to the schedule, All Might was also supposed to be here." Aizawa then whispers, so it was you bastards who broke in yesterday. The mist at the center slowly disappeared as a tall man-shaped black mist formed a body. Izuku throws a kunai behind, hitting a surprised mist villain who just appeared there as Izuku in a green flash appears behind him as he places a 5-element seal. The mist is slowly disappearing as the villain yells as he says, "What did you do to me, you brat? I can't use my quirk." Aizawa was surprised as Izuku ties up the confused villain as Aizawa says, "You can erase quirks, Midoriya." Izuku then answers, "Only if I can physically touch them. This one has a teleportation quirk, which means he is the escape route and main factor. We need to keep him detained, so I am sealing him up." Aizawa was a bit baffled but nods as Izuku strikes the stomach area hard with a chakra-enhanced punch which makes a big dent as Izuku puts the unconscious body in a stasis seal. The blue-haired villain yells, "Hey, how do you have these cheats? Release Kurogiri this instant. He is the main player too." Izuku's sweat drops a bit as he thinks this is a villain. Aizawa then gets an idea and commands, "Everyone run out and Todoroki, seal up the entrance with lots of ice. I don't care if you lose all your stamina, I will carry you." Everyone was gonna run out but suddenly a weird creature interrupts them as it stands tall at the entrance. Aizawa uses his quirk but he is shocked feeling multiple quirks. Laughter is heard at the center as the main villain yells, "You might have gotten Kurogiri, but you can't get it. That is a Nomu and it has multiple quirk, it is made to be as strong as All Might in his prime after all." Aizawa grits his teeth as the villains start running up the stairs. Suddenly Izuku backs up against Aizawa as he says, "Sensei, have you noticed? He referred to that as it, and he said it has multiple quirks. I think that it is not human." Aizawa nods as he says, "I get that, Midoriya, but I can't go up against it." Izuku suggests, "Sir, have us fight the normal villains. Maybe 13 can suck it up and destroy it. But we need to distract it." Aizawa grits his teeth, having no choice, yelled, "All students are allowed to use their quirks to defend themselves, go full out." A chorus "Okay. Yes, yes sir," was heard as Todoroki took the first stride and froze up the first line of villains with a huge block of ice, giving the class a bit more breathing time as Aizawa runs up to the Nomu as the villain in the center commands, "Nomu, take them all out." Disappearing to naked eye, Nomu punches Aizawa hard as he gets launched into the trees as Nomu runs to 13, but Izuku using lightning step flashes in front with Kubikiribocho surrounded in wind chakra as Izuku cuts the Nomu's hands. Izuku then yells, 13, that thing is not human, suck it up and turn it to dust. 13 hesitates as he puts his vacuums up, but the Nomu already regenerates as it kicks Izuku away. Izuku gets launched into the fountain as 13 puts aside his hesitations and turns his black hole to max as the Nomu struggles against getting sucked. With the students, the villains finally broke the ice but were met with a surge of net launchers in the hands of Jirou and Momo, who shot as more villains were captured and restricted in movements as Bakugo launches a group of villains coming from behind. Akeno flies up into the air as a huge magic circle appeared on a group of 40 as Akeno yells, "Lightning storm." Bolts of lightning rain down from the circle, effectively knocking out the villains. Kirishima, Sato and Shoji teamed up in close quarters as Jirou was helping Momo while using her ears to make out the locations of villains. Suddenly she turns to Todoroki and yells, "Todoroki, beneath you." Todoroki, alarmed, looks to behind as suddenly a villain comes out of the ground as Todoroki didn't have enough time as suddenly a kunai comes between them as in a green flash. Izuku teleports, kicking the villain hard in the head as turns to Todoroki and says, "Be careful," and flashes away, leaving Todoroki in awe at the speed. Just as the blue-haired villain touches 13, he grins and says, "My quirk makes anyone turn to dust, so goodbye." But a few seconds later, nothing happens as the villain looks to the side to see Aizawa with red eyes as Aizawa yells, "Midoriya." "Yes sir." Izuku using lightning flashes appears between 13 and the blue-haired villain and swings down the Kubikiribocho. All the villains were rounded up as the students looks as a loud scream of pain was heard as the blue-haired villain falls to the ground rolling around in pain. "Ah! My hands, you bastard, where are my hands?" Izuku grits his teeth as 13 takes this chance as the Nomu was completely sucked up and turned to dust. The blue-haired villain then passes out due to pain as Aizawa comes and ties up the villain as well as wrapping up the bloody hands. Aizawa looks around as none of the students were seriously injured, just exhausted. He then goes to Izuku as he asks, "Midoriya, I saw you getting kicked away, how are you?" Izuku takes a breath as he says, "Fine sir, might have cracked a rib though." Izu-kun. Momo slides as she comes beside Izuku as she asks, "OMG Izuku, you got kicked hard, are you okay? Can you move?" Izuku hugs Momo which makes her shut up as he says, "I am fine Momo, just maybe a cracked rib, are you okay?" Momo just cries into Izuku's shoulders as Akeno answers, "We three are fine Izuku, we teamed up and managed to take out many villains." Kaminari then turns up to Aizawa and says, "Sir, I got the signal, the police and you should be here soon." Aizawa nods as he plops down next to the exhausted 13 as he says, "Don't worry 13, you didn't kill anyone, what you sucked up was an experimented body which was already dead." 13 nods as he says, "I am just thankful we survived, Midoriya taking out that mist guy gave us a lot of advantage. That guy could have easily split us up after all." Aizawa nodded and said, "That kid did very well today, I just hope him cutting off another person's hands won't affect his mindset." Izuku sighs as he turns to Jirou and says, "Thanks for the heads up with Todoroki, I only got there since I heard you." "Good job Kyoka." Jirou gives out a bright smile as Izuku gets up as his hands lit up green which he places where he got kicked. Akeno asks, "What are you doing Midoriya?" Izuku answers, "This is a healing technique I made up with my quirk." The girls look in awe as Izuku just stands up bending around as if it doesn't hurt as he goes to Aizawa and places his hands above the visible injuries. "Thank you Midoriya, you really are a jack of all trades huh?" Izuku chuckles as he says, "Just doing what I can sir." The entrance doors open up as the staff was seen coming in. All Might's checks on the students and Nezu asks Aizawa on the details as the police rounds up the villains as Izuku also pulls out Kurogiri from the stasis as the police cuff him up and all the villains are taken away as Inspector Tsukauchi comes up to the teachers for the details as Aizawa explains to them all as the students were told to wait in the buses except for Izuku who was still healing up Aizawa. After taking the notes, the inspector says, "You got a good batch of students this time UA. They took charge nicely from what I have heard and this young man is rather impressive too." Izuku just gives a eye smile as his mask was still on. The inspector goes away as Nezu tells the staff to take the students to UA for lunch and then that they have a 2-day break for what happened. The teachers go and inform the students as finally everyone goes back to UA in 2 buses. Izuku was getting praised left and right from the students as even Todoroki thanked him for saving his life. The students have gotten past their first unexpected hurdle, what will happen to them from now on? Find out next time. Third person POV. Upon reaching back to the school, the class was still shocked with what happened to them. It was lunch class as the class went to their classroom to eat their lunch. Silence was lurking in the classroom broken by Kirishima who said, "That was an experience." Bakugo continued, "We were lucky that most of them were just small-time crooks and not real powerful villains except for a few." Mina turned to Akeno as she said, "Himahima, Momo and Jirou-san were amazing though, they 3 took out a 100 nearly." The 3 gave a nervous chuckle as Jirou said, "Todoroki's first attack gave us time to compose ourselves so he did really good too." Todoroki nodded at the praise and said, "I do have to thank Midoriya and Jirou-san for saving me." Jirou gave a thumbs up and Izuku nodded as Momo went to the front of the classroom and said, "Alright, we got an announcement from Aizawa-sensei which he told me to pass on. We will be going home after this lunch period and we got a 2-day break for ourselves." The class gave themselves a small cheer for the 2-day break as Momo got back to her seat as Izuku sighed and said, "I just hope this villain attacks won't be a common thing." Akeno joined up the conversation saying, "Well, UA hero courses do get attacked like once a year but only small-time guys. Not on the scale which happened to us." Izuku nodded but continued, "I am afraid the leader of ones who attacked today hasn't revealed himself so we better be careful." Momo with a confused expression asked, "What makes you say that Izuku, wasn't that blue-haired hand guy the leader?" Izuku shook his head and said, "That guy was too childish for a big plan like this. They used the media to break the defenses and steal our schedule from the staff room and today, right as we entered, they took out any ways of us contacting for help. Momo with a bit of thinking agreed as the group continued on eating before packing up to go home with Izuku giving a ride home to Akano as well. 4. Midoriya household. Inko was watching TV cause she had nothing to do but was shocked as she heard her son's car horn. There was still 2 hours till he was supposed to be home, so Inko went out to greet him. Upon opening the main door, Inko saw Izuku just get out of his car as she said, "Hey Izuku. You were home early today. Anything happened?" Inko saw that Izuku seemed a bit moody, but Izuku answered, "We got attacked by villains during our rescue training class, Mom." In a split second Inko was upon Izuku checking him for any visible injuries as she asked, "Are you okay? Does it hurt anywhere? Is everyone in class okay?" "Wah." Izuku interrupted Inko by saying, "We are fine, Mom. No one is injured. I just got kicked once and I already healed that injury. Don't panic, okay?" Taking a few deep breaths, Inko sighed as she said, "Oh Izuku, a mom always worries for her child no matter how strong he is. I am glad nothing major happened during this. I know you already ate but want to eat something more. I can make some katsudon." Izuku nodded as Inko went to the kitchen to cook as Izuku went to his room and plopped down on the bed. "You wanna discuss with me, Kit?" A small smile made its way onto Izuku's face as he said, "Can't get anything past you, huh? Just can't get the image of all that blood when I cut his hands. I know it was necessary but I just feel weird." A chuckle was heard as Kurama answered, "For as strong as you are, Kit, you have never gotten into a heated real-life fight where others' survival was on the line. Had you hesitated today, who knows what would have happened to that teacher of yours?" Izuku chuckled a bit as he said, "If you put it that way, I can say I saved someone, but Kurama-sensei, that thing was surely not human, right? I still have my doubts." "Don't doubt yourself, Kit. That thing was indeed not human. My guess is it was once a human on whom the leader might have experimented on to infuse numerous quirks, and since a human body can't take it, the soul must have left as the body lived on like a lifeless robot. This might not be the end of them, Kit. Do you still have the 5-element seal on that guy with teleportation quirk?" Izuku nodded and said, "Yes I do, and it won't go away unless I do it. Teleportation-type quirks are the rarest kinds on this planet, and we saw him effortlessly teleport so many people too. He must definitely be one of the mains in that group, so I didn't take any chance." Izuku could feel Kurama's agreement to his statement as Kurama said, "There is a possibility of this villains group attacking us once more. We should as your school to present us with the semester plans so we can maybe guess on what outings they have a possibility to attack." Izuku answered, "I guess my position as a vice representative is useful for this. Oh well, I will go and eat now. Mom should be done by now." Izuku got up from his bed as he changed to normal clothes and went down to eat his favorite. 1. Momo's house. Entering into the house, Momo saw her mom on the couch as her mom looked confused and asked, "Sweetie, aren't you home early today? Did something happen? You told me you have a full-day class today." Momo sighed as she explained all the events that happened as Athena had Momo lay down on her lap as she said, "I am glad nothing serious happened to you and Izuku, sweetie. My advice is for you treat this as a lesson to move forward. Do you still wanna be a hero?" Momo nodded as Athena smiled as she pet Momo on her head as slowly Momo slept. A few minutes later Akira came down as Athena explained the situation to him as Akira said, "Izuku's guess might be true. All we can do is trust our daughter since this is a path that she chose after all, and I am confident that Izuku will not let anything serious happen to her. Maybe we can help her. Let's design an outfit for her together as our support like we did with young Rumi back then." Athena nodded as Akira sat beside his wife as Athena was still rubbing softly on Momo's head. 2 days later, Izuku comes down in his school uniform ready to go as he sees his mom at the table with breakfast ready and she seemed extra happy. Izuku sat down at the table as he asked, "You seem extra happy, Mom, what's up?" Inko giggled as she said, "Remember that pic I took of you while you didn't have mask and was wearing an apron?" Izuku nodded as Inko continued, "Well, with Athena's help, we made an anonymous account as we put the pic for auction. The print sold for $20,000. Izuku spit out the orange juice as he looked at him mom in shock as he said, "You mean someone spent $20,000 for that?" Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, quote dot. Inko shook her head a bit and said, your small modeling session did go a lot more viral than you think, Izuku. You did shot up into the top 10 after all. It shouldn't be a wonder. Izuku sighed as he asked, so, who got it? Inko thought for a bit and answered, it was an anonymous person with a name, Dragon Queen 23 feet. Izuku sighed as he finished his breakfast and got into the car to go school. Stopping by Momo's house, Momo was already waiting as she got in and laughed as Izuku sighed and said, I am guessing Aunt Athena told you about the apron pick. Momo nodded but thought, well, I also auctioned till 10,000 but gave up. Izuku continued driving while Momo was teasing him about his face's worth. 30 minutes later, Izuku parked the car as himself and Momo got out as Momo saw Akano and called her over as the three continued walking to class. The trio got into the class to see only Ida was there as they went to their seats as the class slowly filled in. The bell rang indicating the start of homeroom as everyone was seated and silent as Aizawa walked in still bandaged in a few areas as Denki asked, Sensei, is it okay for you to be here today? You could have taken a few days off. I am fine, Kaminari. Midoriya managed to heal me a lot that day itself, plus this is not enough to stop a hero. The class looked in admiration at their teacher as Aizawa walked behind the podium. Aizawa then announced, some of you might know but yes, UA's annual sports festival date is fixed in exact 2 weeks from now on Thursday. Jirou raised her hand as she asked, Sir, is it good to have a sports festival so soon after the villain attack? It did raise quite a bit attention on media too. Denki nodded too and said, I agree, sir, there might be a chance we can get attacked there too. Aizawa answered their doubts. Those are good questions but the Hero Commission have agreed to this date. Postponing it might show that we might be scared, which is a form of showing weakness which if not good for a hero, and we are hiring more number of top heroes for protection and the top 10 will be in the audience so the villains won't dare attack. The students nodded as Aizawa continued, as you students know, UA's sports festival is an event on par with the Olympics on scale of popularity. But this is also a testing ground for the heroes who will offer internships to the first-year students. Yes, you guys will do a 2-week internship under a hero whose offer you receive and accept after the sports fest. The class nodded as Iida raised his hand and said, Sensei, can we request for a specific hero? Aizawa shook his head and said, no, you can't. You can only choose from what offers you receive, and if you don't receive offers, we will give you a choice between 40 heroes. You students have 2 weeks to prepare for the sports festival, and you guys also have the afternoon hero class off and can use the school facilities to train during that time. Sweet, we can use school facilities. Yes, this is an opportunity to use our resources to the fullest. We have to prove ourselves in front of everyone and catch the hero's attention. Which hero are you aiming for? Yaoyorozu? I am gonna try for Yukio, she is really good at hand-to-hand. Ooh, that is a name I heard of. She recently got into top 500, right? Everyone was excited as slowly the classes went by and it was time for lunch. Bakugo, Kirishima and Denki were the first to get up as they opened the door and were instantly swarmed by many students with UA uniforms. What is happening here? Why are there so many students swarming our door? Izuku was also observing as he could spot that pesky blondie from 1B amongst the crowd too. A purple-haired student came forward from the students as he said, Ah, Class 1A, quite the attention you garnered from the media due to that villain attack. You all don't even look much. I am one of those who wanted to be in hero course but was forced to choose other options like many others here. The class looked a bit mad at this person as Izuku and Momo came forward to the front as Momo said, Please kindly stop swarming our class door, we need to get to the lunch room. Shinso and the students ignored Momo as Shinso said, Now that I got another chance, do you know? If someone from other courses do really good in the festival above the hero students, they can be transferred in and someone from the hero course will be transferred out. Izuku interfered as he said, Okay, nice, now it would be nice if you would let us leave for lunch and go train instead of swarming others' classrooms. The crowd, a bit peeved, made way as the class went out to get lunch as someone in the crowd yelled, Look at them with such egos just because they survived a villain attack. The crowd roared in agreement as Izuku just sighed and continued walked, but Bakugo yelled, Oh yeah, say that sentence after looking at 200 villains running to kill you. The crowd shut up instantly as the class went to lunchroom as Izuku was thinking about how to use the school facilities. Kurama answered for him, why not go to the ground beta? You don't have much experience in quick movements around tight spaces and building. You can train on that here. Izuku thought a bit and nodded as he thought, I can also learn to fight indoors with flash step. I never trained in narrow spaces after all. Third person POV. 2 weeks later, loud cheering can be heard across the humongous stadium as it was only a matter of minutes before the event, which is on par with the Olympics in terms of popularity, begins. Yes, it's the UA Sports Festival, where the heroes hopefuls who have just entered into the academy a month ago will showcase their skills for all to see, hero, civilians or villains alike. Most of the heroes are seen either conversing with each other or patrolling around the stadium. In the Class 1A lounge, everyone were conversing with one or many as Kirishima could be heard saying, man, I am excited about this, we will on international television, my mom came to watch me, I hope I will make her proud. Kaminari grinned at his spiky-haired friend as he said, I am sure we will do well, man. Me and Bakugo trained a lot for this. Bakugo interfered as he said, as long as your brain doesn't get fried and you start doing weird shit on live. Many laughed as Kaminari dreaded since what Bakugo said could be true. Izuku finally came in the lounge as Mina said, hey Midoriya, still keeping that mask on today? And what's with all the tattoos in your wrist and arm? That's right. Izuku wasn't allowed to wear his usual wristband and his black arm sleeves, leaving his storage seal's formula to be exposed. Izuku turned to her as he said, yes Ashido, I will be having my mask on and I prefer keeping secrecy about my tattoos. Mina pouted a bit at not getting the info she wanted as Momo laughed a bit and said, you might never get to see his true face, Mina. I known him for like forever and even I only saw his true face after he got the mask like 2 to 3 times. Mina's pout increased in size as the others were on trying to persuade Izuku into revealing his face. A little while later, the chaos on Izuku's face died out as Todoroki approached Izuku as he announced, Midoriya-san, while you proved yourself to be on top PF the class, I will do my best to defeat you. The stern and determined voice was instantly noticed by the rest of the class and Kaminari commented, Oi, why are you declaring war on class representative Todoroki? Izuku said, it's fine Kaminari, in fact, I expect everyone to do their absolute best. We do have to show our ability and prove ourselves to be deserving of being heroes in the future, I accept your challenge Todoroki-san. Izuku turned around and left the room as everyone stared in awe as Bakugo silently commented, holy shit, that was cool. Everyone nodded in agreement as they left to follow their class representative to the stadium as it was time for the fest to begin. With the main stadium, alright ladies and gentlemen, here comes the famed Class 1A of the hero course. The brave students WHO faced a disaster a while ago but survived through with their strength, which they will showcase today. Cheering was heard across the huge stadium, which is rumored to be able to fill up to 100,000 people. Class 1A came out following behind Izuku as the students looked around in awe. Being in such a grand stage, only a few have an opportunity to showcase themselves. Present Mike, seeing that the Class 1A were in position, announced, now will come Class 1B. WHO are fired up as they trained extensively in order to prove themselves to be stronger than their rivals. Class 1B came out as competitive glares and smirks were exchanged between 1A and 1B students as Izuku waved a bit at Ibara, who beamed as she waved back. Kendo came up TP Izuku and Momo as she said, man, this is big, you both excited? Momo and Izuku nodded as Momo said, good luck to you Kendo. Kendo grinned as she went back to her class to have them stand in their places. Soon, Present Mike called the rest of the courses as a total of 250 students were competing for the prize. Soon from the entry came out Midnight, smirking and her hips swaying as many men and teens alike stared at the walking beauty as women cheered for their idol. The students whom she teaches were showing embarrassed expressions seeing their teacher like this as Midnight reached a small podium as she turned on the mic and said, hello all beautiful ladies and handsome men. I am your host this time and the opening speech will be given by the top scorer of the UA's entrance exam, surpassing even the records of Endeavor and All Might by a big margin. It's the class representative of Class 1A, Izuku Midoriya. The last statement got eyebrow raise and a lot of interest from a particular flaming hero who thought, even All Might's record, huh? Seems like you got some huge competition, Shoto. You better stop your rebellious actions and take this seriously using your fireside too. The rest of the top heroes were also interested in the last statement as they kept their attention on probably upcoming top hero. Ryukyu, who was patrolling about, saw the screen as she smiled proudly at her best friend's introduction. Izuku came up on the podium as he took the mic offered by Midnight and brought it close to his mouth and said, "Good luck to all participants," in a monotone manner as he handed the mic back to a stunned Midnight who was expected an epic speech, as even the crowd was speechless for a moment as Izuku returned to his spot. Inko chuckled as she said, "I was expecting this. He might be overwhelmed, so he tried to make it short as possible." Akira and Athena nodded, knowing Izuku for a long time. Midnight got out of her stupor as she announced, Anyways, with the short but encouraging opening speech, let's get started with the sports festival." The crowd cheered as Momo patted Izuku on the back as she could see he was a bit dejected about not giving a longer and more cheerful speech. Akeno commented, My, who knew our seemingly perfect class representative would be nervous in front of a crowd. Class 1A laughed as Izuku now had a comic depressing cloud raining on him, cause even Momo, who was trying not to laugh, was giggling. Third person Pav. Midnight started, "Alright then. Our first round will be an obstacle course. All students are required to go through 3 different obstacles in this long 4-kilometer course. Students, please assemble at the starting line." The students started going to the starting line as Izuku was slowly gathering more chakra around his hands and legs. Since chakra is not visible to normal people, everyone slowly felt pressure building up from Izuku, who hasn't realized it yet. People tried to keep some distance to not feel the pressure, but due to the number of students, it was impossible not to, as students next to him were shaking a bit. The countdown meter began as most people got into a running position, whereas Izuku just kept his hands in a throwing motion. The countdown came to 0 and a boom was heard as Izuku jumped high up into the air and summoned 2 of the marked kunais. He threw one enhanced with chakra as it sailed fast, almost not visible to eye, as Izuku also suddenly vanished and reappeared right before the second obstacle, where he caught the kunai with one hand and threw the other and disappeared. One appearing in front of the gate after the mines, Izuku flashed in front of the finish line and walked through. The buzzer went off and everyone was confused, but looked at the huge screen and saw the first place finished with a time of 8 seconds. People were shocked, even the students were, since the race just started and no one even made it past Todoroki's ice. All Might had a shocked face at his record being shattered so easily. Even Midnight was still in the shocked state. Slowly a voice was heard belonging to Aizawa as he said, "The official record for the obstacle course being 1 minute from All Might has been broken." The crowd went crazy over the announcement as Izuku just walked to a seat thinking, 1 minute? I thought All Might was faster? Meanwhile All Might had a bead of sweat dropping down his face as he thought, this kid. Even during my time, I fought the obstacles, so it took me some extra time, but even so, I can't go as fast as breaking the sound barrier over the distance since the wind resistance automatically slows me down. Other heroes were also very chatty about the speed which was displayed as Inko's sweat dropped at all the chattering of the heroes over her son since her seat was at the VIP section too. Akira said, "Well, he definitely broke the speed of sound," while Athena said, I expected Izuku to be top, but I didn't expect this. Izuku might actually be the fastest even amongst the top." Few minutes later, Izuku was getting a bit bored at this point, but soon the buzzer went off as Momo came out of the tunnel securing second place. Momo was breathing a bit heavily, but she seemed fine all over, as another buzzer went off as a flying Akeno landed on the floor, retracting her wings of lightning as she went directly to the drinking water. Momo came towards Izuku as she smiled at him and said, "Congrats Izuku, you beat All Might's record." Izuku in a bit of a disappointed voice said, "I expected the record to be close to my time." Momo's sweat dropped a bit as she thought, only you Izu, only you. Slowly more students started dropping in as the top 42 were decided as Kurama commented, "I didn't expect this generation to be this weaker. While the kids are stronger and faster than average people, they are slower compared to Chunin." Izuku just hemmed in thought while waiting for Midnight to announce the next event. Midnight got onto the stage once again and said, "All right. The second event is Concrete Maze. In a few minutes, Cementos will place a maze over the whole field and all 42 players will enter from different inlets. The objective is to snatch as many tokens as possible from your opponents, and the tokens have to be placed in a visible manner and not inside the clothes or inside any body parts, especially the busty girls. All will be given 500-point token except for Izuku Midoriya, who will be given 10,000 points. All eyes were on Izuku, who was reading a book. The targeting gazes turned into confused gazes as Kirishima, who was next to Izuku, tapped in on the shoulder and asked, Izubro? Didn't you hear the event announcement? Izuku finally tore his gaze away from the book and looked at Kirishima as he said, Did you say something? Everyone fell on the floor as Izuku just looked at Midnight and said, Where can I get my token? So you did listen to Midnight? Was the collective yelling of all the students, and Izuku once replied, Did you guys say something? Time skip. All the participants were ready at their individual entrances, forgetting about the earlier matter. And the countdown by Midnight began. 3, 2, 1. Enter. All students entered into the maze, not knowing each other's location, but 24 people has a common thought. I will get the 10,000 points. Meanwhile, with Class 1A except Todoroki and Izuku. I hope I don't run into the speed demon. With Todoroki. Izuku Mido. With Izuku. Let me just flash step around, I guess, a good pastime. During the next 15 minutes, all that happened was Izuku appearing and disappearing in front of most of the participants, whereas Todoroki was on a rampage searching for Izuku while still collecting any tokens that came by. A loud buzzer rang, indicating the end of the round as the walls disappeared courtesy of Cementos. Students with no tokens were already disappointed, knowing their fate, while all others looked at the scoreboard. 1. Izuku Midoriya, 10,000 points. 2. Momo Yaoyorozu, 4,000 points. 3. Abara Shiozaki, 3,000 points. 4. Itsuka Kendo, 2,500 points. 5. Katsuki Bakugo, 2,000 points. 6. Kirishima Ejiru, 2,000 points. 7. Honta Siro, 1,500 points. 8. Shinsho Hitoshi, 1,500 points. 9. Mina Ishido, 500 points. 10. Akeno Hamejima, 500 points. 11. Toru Hagakure, 500 points. 12. Tetsu, 500 points. 13. Denki Kaminari, 500 points. 14. Shoto Todoroki, 500 points. 15. Mei Hatsume, 500 points. 16. Ochako Uraraka, 500 points. Don't worry, all the points are calculated and not random, excluding Izuku. There were 41 people in play and their points total up to 20,500. You can tally up all points except Izuku and the total is 20,502. And the positions are in accordance to what they can do with their quirk. For example, Abara can use vines easily for tokens and Kendo can just grab a person in a deathly grip and take it. The ones not on the leaderboard got off the field while the remaining ones looked at Izuku as Kaminari asked, Bro, how are you so fast? You were everywhere. Izuku just shrugged and said, What can I say, speed is my birthright. Third person Pov. Seeing the leaderboard, the audience cheered for the top 16 as everyone knew what the final round was going to be. A 1 vs 1 tournament. Others excluding the top 16 got off the stage as Midnight tapped onto her mic, gaining attention as she said, We will be having a 1-hour time gap till the 1 vs 1s begin. We will conduct some small events for those who lost the second round. A few people got off their seats for a snack break since there is time for the important events, whereas the top 16 went for a snack or lunch break to store back some energy. Izuku was hoping to go around some stalls with Momo, but seeing her with the female gang, he chose not to. I never seen Momo make many friends her age, guess I will go alone. Visiting the stalls, Izuku ate some takoyaki and have a couple energy drinks. Looking around to pass time, Izuku spotted Ryukyu standing in line for the ice cream while giving a kid her autograph. Approaching Ryukyu, Izuku waved at her, who quickly waved back with a smile as she said, You beat All Might's record, Izuku. I couldn't even keep up with your movements. Giving a eye smile, Izuku answered, I had to show the villains what I am made of, since we both know gangs and villain groups will watch this to target any upcoming talents. Nodding in understanding, Ryukyu asked, So, wanna have some ice cream, my treat? Sure, I will take a scoop of lychee flavored one. Ryukyu nods as Izuku gets in line, apologizing to the person behind him for cutting the line. The person just waved it off since Izuku won't be buying anyways. One strolling around, Ryukyu was telling about her recent villain encounters to an eagerly listening Izuku as he asked, The hero killer? You were assigned to go after him as well? Ryukyu nods, replying, A lot of heroes have died by his hands and so have civilians. This villain needs to be stopped, so I accepted once they offered me the mission. Ryukyu is very strong, so I believe she will stay safe. Checking the time, Izuku threw the empty ice cream cup in the trash can and said, "Well, the break time is almost up, Ryukyu. Gotta go to see the matchups." "Good luck, Izuku." Waving her off, Izuku lightly jogs towards the arena where they are told to gather after the 1-hour break. Arriving on time, Izuku sees others waiting for the matchups as well. Tapping onto the mic, Midnight catches everyone's attention as she starts. The matchups will be presented on screen, and the first match will be. The contestants' names roll around and finally stop showing. 1. Abara Shiozaki vs Akeno Himejima. 2. Ochako Uraraka vs Mina Ashido. 3. Itsuka Kendo vs Shoto Todoroki. 4. Toru Hagakure vs Izuku Midoriya. 4-5. Mei Hatsume vs Hitoshi Shinso. 6. Denki Kaminari vs Ejiro Kirishima. 7. Tetsu vs Honta Siro. 8. Bakugo Katsuki vs Yaoyorozu Momo. 2. I actually spun a wheel for the matchups, lol. Don't know why only women were chosen in the first few fights. Midnight announces, and our first match is between Abara Shiozaki and Akeno Himehima. Cheering noises. The rest of the contestants can wait for their turn with their classes or in the waiting room. The contestants have left as Akeno and Abara were on each side of the arena as present mic began. All right, folks. This is a match between a heartful believer of God from Class 1B. Shiozaki Abara, and her opponent is none other than the Class 1A's Goddess of Beauty. Akenohimejima. What's with the goddess title to my student? I don't know, Shota. I heard it from a couple general class boys gossiping about Akeno being the college's goddess or something. One sweat dropping at the rather embarrassing introduction. Akeno and Abara gave each other a stare meaning, we shall forget this ever happened. Midnight starts the countdown. 3, 2, 1 and fight. Abara starts the battle with a quiet apology for fighting to God as she sends a wave of her vines to grab Akeno, who easily flew up into the sky with her wings as Akeno summoned a magic circle producing a bolt of lightning which goes towards Abara as its target. Quickly binding her vines in a circle shield around her, the lightning strikes the vines with a few vines burned and broken as Abara, keeping half of her vines to her defense, enlarges the other half to go after Akeno, who while maintaining the magic circle flies around avoiding the vines as both are relentlessly attacking as well as defending or dodging their opponent. Feeling her reserves lowering, Akeno decides to end it with a strong move as she conjures a huge magic circle. Widening her eyes at the size of the circle, Abara quickly brings up her vines to form a multi-layered shield in front of her. A huge purple lightning hit the ground where Abara stood upon as Akeno crouches in exhausting from the toll it took. The smoke moved away revealing Abara with first-degree burns and all vines destroyed or scattered as she slowly fell to the ground. Checking on her quickly, Midnight brings up the mic to her alluring kissable lips as she announces, Abara has fainted. The winner of the first match is Akenohimejime. Giving a gentle smile, Akeno slowly walks back through the entrance as Mike talks. What a terrific first match. Both the ladies have shown themselves to not be underestimated, and Himejima's final attack even destroyed a portion of the arena. We sure have some powerful girls in our school, Shota. Indeed, both gave a commendable performance, focusing not only on attacking but also defending themselves at the first time. It was a good first match. 3 Appearing on stage, Midnight signals Mike, who calls out, it's time for round 2. Our contestants are Class 1A's bubbly girl, Ochako Uraraka, who will be fighting against her classmate famous for her unique appearance, Mina Ashido. Both girls appear on stage with smiles on their face as if gathering for a hangout. Midnight begins the countdown. 3.2. 1. And begin. Uraraka immediately rushes Mina, having better chances at close combat but is quickly forced to dodge sideways as Mina shoots acid from her hands. I am not making it easy, Ocha. I will not lose Mina. Ochako starts running ahead in a zigzag manner but is outclassed in speed as Mina, emitting acid from her feet, glides around the arena away from Ochako. Being forced to dodge from different angles, Ochako had no choice but to shield her weak parts while jumping around, dancing to Mina's attacks, who is not showing any signs of slowing down, continued for a few seconds as Ochako had first-degree burns on her arms and legs as she had been using them to protect herself. Mina was slowly tiring herself running out acid as she had been shooting and running around the arena the entire time. A small stumble of Ochako, which was seen by the keen eye of Mina, who rushes forward. Ochako launches a strong punch at the approaching Mina, who bent her body back using acid to slid under the punch as she jumps and kicks into the back of Ochako's neck, which proved to be a critical hit as Ochako slowly fell to the floor unconscious. Checking upon Uraraka, Midnight points to Mina saying, "Participant Ochako Uraraka has fainted." The match goes to Mina Ishido. 2 in the stands. Denki quickly gets up worried about his best friend as he runs out while Mina also stays till Uraraka was taken by the bots. Mike announces, "Well, wasn't that a one-sided fight?" Mina Ishido dominates with her range attacks and agility, leaving Uraraka unable to cope up. In a contest of strength, Ishido knew Uraraka has her outclassed. Sticking to her tactic was impressive, along with her ability to be flexible in close combat is something to be proud about. Not many range fighter can be good at hand-to-hand combat as well. Letting out a cheer for the winner, Mina gives up a huge smile for the crowd before leaving to go back and get some energy drinks. Another signal from Midnight as Mike starts. Seeing 2 blood-pumping fights, we have arrived at the 3rd round with the class representative of Class 1B, otherwise known as the big sister of 1B Itsuka Kendo, and her opponent is none other emo boy with dad, I mean the number 2 heroes Shoto Todoroki. Glaring at the small slip by Mike, Aizawa kicks him under the table as an angry Todoroki is seen coming out of his corner as Itsuka Kendo was seen determined as Izuku is seen keenly observing the both as he sighs and makes a small comment. Todoroki will lose. Only heard by Momo, who was a bit shocked by the revelation but decides to watch the fight to see why. 3 starting the countdown, Midnight quickly jumps away yelling, "Begin!" Muttering apology, "Sorry, but I am just angry." Shoto sends out a huge ice glacier raging towards Kendo, who grits her teeth as she yells, "Maximum output!" Itsuka's hands enlarge to the size of almost two-storied building as she smashed them against the ice, resulting in the ice to be easily broken and hauled back towards Shoto, who in shock conjures another ice to shield himself. Taking the opportunity, Itsuka rushes to the side, quickly circling around as Shoto looks from the side to see Kendo not at the spot he expected her to be. Looking around a bit in panic, Itsuka quickly punches Todoroki in the back with her fists at normal length as she continues assaulting him, giving him no space to conjure up ice. Forced to dodge or defend against the solid and times hits. Shoto is constantly trying to build space, but Kendo is not allowing his hands to stay free to allow him to cast ice. Gritting his teeth in anger, Shoto encases his left side in ice spikes but is met by a smirk as Kendo with her left hand enlarged to the size of a human smashes his, throwing Todoroki off the platform, knocked out. Checking upon him, Midnight raises her hand to Itsuka exclaiming, "And the winner is Itsuka Kendo." Note: okay, hear me out. I might have buffed Kendo's quirk, but the reason Shoto lost, he didn't expect his ice attack to fail, and if you observe, his ice attacks can't form like in the close distance of half a meter from his body unless he is encasing himself in ice. And training from a very young age in physical body and martial arts, Kendo outclasses most of the hero students in close combat. And with anger and disbelief clouding his mind, Todoroki wasn't able to think rationally. And to be honest, if he used fire, he could have easily won at close combat. 1. What a surprising match. Pushing her quirk to extreme, Kendo was able to completely dominate the Giga Ice Glacier like nothing, and in a show of martial arts, Shoto Todoroki was quickly taken out by the big sister of Class 1B. I have to agree, Kendo's martial abilities are at top notch and her hidden card worked perfectly against the irrationally thinking Todoroki. In the hero section, some heroes moved away from the clearly furious Endeavor, who couldn't believe how easily his son lost. I had enough of his childish behavior. He could have won that easily with his fire. Shoto, you better be prepared today. I won't tolerate this behavior from now. 3. Class 1B is seen cheering loudly as Momo was taunting Class 1A over the wall but was quickly pulled back by the vice representative Setsuna. Momo looked at Izuku as she asked, "How did you know?" Izuku answered, "While I was surprised by her quirk, I saw anger clouding Todoroki's eyes, and against a top-notch martial artist, it is never good to loose your mind to anger." Momo nods as she thinks to herself of machines she can use against her opponent. While Izuku flashes away towards the entrance of the arena, giving a quick high five and congrats to a clearly happy but exhausted Kendo. 3. Another quick signal later, Mike announces, after the miraculous showcase of power in martial arts, our 4th round participants are the Invisible Girls from 1A Toru Kagekure, and her opponent is the God of Speed Who has been easily breaking all Might's records without any sweat. The class representative of 1A, Izuku Midoriya. Insert lots of cheering for our ninja. Izuku arrives in the middle and sees floating gloves and shoes as he asks, Hagakure? You are wearing clothes, right? Hagakure answered, of course. I had my hair taken every time it grew long as it was converted into cloth by a quirk user which will turn invisible with me. Prepare yourself, Midoriya. Removing her gloves and shoes, she was completely invisible as Izuku closes his eyes, sending small amount of chakra to his ears, and Midnight jumped back yelling, begin. 4. Hagakure, confident in her invisibility, rushes towards Izuku, who as soon as he spots her sound of feet, he jumps back a bit as Hagakure misses her punch. Izuku keeps jumping back in order to avoid the melee range of Hagakure. Judging her height to be somewhere at 5 feet 3, Izuku knew he couldn't predict her punches, but he can predict her range, so every time H hears her footsteps close to him, he jumps back, avoiding her. This continued for a while, leaving the spectators confused while Aizawa explains the situation, leaving many in awe of such a tactic. This led to Hagakure knowing why it wasn't working. She quickly held her breath, slowly stepping forwards, but suddenly Izuku, doing a small series of hand seals, brings his fingers close to his mouth as he thinks, wind style. Great breakthrough. Izuku blows out as the force of wind quickly lifts Hagakure, smashing her back against the wall, making a small dent as Midnight quickly approaches her to check on her, but is met with a small shout of pain as Hagakure says, I am fine. Izuku brings over her gloves and shoes as he says, do go to the nurse, Hagakure. Yay. I think my spine has sprained a bit maybe. Calling over the bots, Midnight placed Hagakure on the stretcher. After knowing her position, she lifts Izuku's hands, declaring him as the winner as she whispers, "You senses are quite strong, huh? I wonder if your sense of pleasure is high too." Confused and a bit flustered, Izuku quickly jogs of the arena while Momo and Akeno are seen glaring death at Midnight, with those around them scared by their presence. She made Izuku fluster. "Era, I didn't expect you to be in competition, miss." "Midnight, I got some planning to do." Third person Pav. Back on the mic, Present announced, "Let's move on to the next matchup. We now got Mei Hatsume, the tech genius from the support class, versus Eraserhead's wannabe son from General Department, Hitoshi Shinso." A smack was heard as Present Mike had a lump over his head and Aizawa a smoking fist. Both contestants are seen walking out of the corners, with one of them being extremely wrapped in gadgets and the other walking over to the middle with hands in pockets. Midnight then yelled, "Begin." Shinso immediately asked, "What are those gadgets?" Mei beamed as she answered. They immediately fell silent as Shinso said, "Walk out." Wordlessly, Mei just walked out as Midnight announced, "Winner with walkout as Hitoshi Shinso." Many in the crowd were shocked at what happened as Present Mike asked, "That was Shota, could you explain what happened there?" Aizawa crossed his arms as he said, "I won't, since his quirk is his only way to victory." Many contestants grumbled as Present Mike announced, "Anyways, moving on from that, we got from the Hero Class 1A, the Pikachu wannabe with PSYDUCK personality, Denki Kaminari. Battling against his muscle head best friend of Hero Class 1A, EJIROU Kirishima." Cheers and laughs were heard as a grumbling Kaminari came out cursing at Present Mike with a slightly embarrassed Kirishima from the other side. Walking upon the stage, Midnight got a nod from both the contestants as she brought the mic to her mouth as she began the countdown. "Alright, 3. 2. 1. Begin." Kaminari yelled. "I will finish this one move, bro. 1,000,000 volts. Kirishima hardens his body to the max as he yells, "I already knew, bro. I will tank it." Lightning hit Kirishima, producing a bit of smoke. Kirishima the jumped through the smoke, shocking many, and decked a dumb mode Kaminari in the face, making him fly off the edge onto the grass. Kirishima looks fine except for the burnt marks and panting cause of all the endurance he spent to tank the hit. Midnight then announces, "The Pikachu is unconscious. This match goes to Kirishima." Pumping his fist up, Kirishima waits till his friend gets carried out and follows after. 7. Present Mike then looks at the list as he announces from the booth, "Now that was a good Pokemon battle, folks. Let's move on to the next fight, which is between the Steelix, Tetsu, and battling this Steelix will be the wannabe Spider-Man, HarshaJirou." Coming out of the entrance while glaring at Present Mike, both boys come onto the stage as Tetsu smirks confidently as he says, "I already know your quirk and will be my victory." As Zero says, "We will see, man, you look too alike to Kirishima." Tetsu gets a bit of a tick mark hearing the same comment over and over again. Midnight then announces, "Alright boys, 3, 2, 1. Begin." Zero immediately throws his tape wrapping around a Tetsu who was too sow to dodge and tries to swing it around but is confused as he is not able to. Tetsu smirks as he says, "When I harden into steel, my weight will also increases up to 300 kgs. Zero smirks as he says, "I wanted to save this for future, but..." The tape starts retracting fast along with a surprised Tetsu as Zero unwraps the tape at the last moment, which sends Tetsu airborne and onto the grass, unable to stop himself. Zero then says, "If I stand my ground hard, I can retract weight up to 500 kgs, unless you are on the downhill." Midnight then announces, "The tape man achieves the victory." Zero's sweat drops as he says, "Please don't call me that, it sounds weird." Midnight just smirks as both boys walk off the arena, one happy and one grumbling madly. Present Mike then announces, "Alright folks, now on to the last match, between the goddess of creation and the god of destruction, Yaoyorozu Momo and Bakugo Katsuki, both belonging to the hero class 1A. Cheers were let out hearing the names and supposed titles of the last two contestants, especially Momo's, since everyone know of the Yaoyorozu family legacy. Both contestants came out with a serious Bakugo and a glaring Momo. Momo was one of the few people who know about everything that happened in Izuku's life along with who did it, even though she know Bakugo has changed and that Izuku told her not to hold a grudge. Momo still has a dislike towards this man. Momo has belt on her waist with few round ball-like structures. Midnight, receiving the nods from both students, starts the countdown. "Alright, 3, 2, 1, begin." Bakugo instantly starts rocketing towards Momo using his explosions as Momo then drops the ball structures as cold fog covers the platform. Bakugo instantly tries to stop himself, but his momentum was too much as he enters into the fog. The coldness affects Bakugo as his hands stop releasing any fluid. Suddenly, Bakugo is hit with cold freezing water as he tries to dodge but is hit with perfect precision. Momo has goggles on her eyes and a liquid nitrogen tank connected to a RPG-sized water gun which was connected to Momo, who is using her quirk to constantly supply small amounts of water. Due to the nozzle function of the gun, even small amount of water will flow with speed and precision. Seeing that Bakugo's hand was shivering from her goggles, Momo breaks down the objects she made and converts it into a staff as she rushes into the fog. Bakugo, whose hands were numbed, observed that the water has stopped hitting him as he tried to use his explosion, but his hands were numbed to the inner layer of the skin, preventing his to use them efficiently. Bakugo is suddenly hit on his side by a staff which sent him out of the fog onto the edge. Digging his feet, Bakugo stops himself from falling over as he looks at a calm-looking Momo running at him. Bakugo jumps away but is hit on his feet as he loses his balance as falls to the floor. Quickly using the opportunity, Momo kicks him fiercely on his stomach as Bakugo exhales spit as is seen out of the arena clutching his ribs. Midnight, wincing when she saw the kick, announces, "Alright, Bakugo is out of the field. The winner of this match is Yaoyorozu Momo." Izuku claps as he sees Momo looking towards him, a bit ashamed that she let her emotions get to her. Izuku just shook his hand as he stood up to go talk to Momo. Akeno didn't question his actions, knowing there must be a history behind this fight. Izuku's paw. Reaching the bottom floor, I saw Momo looking down, avoiding my gaze as I said, "It's fine Momo, I know you haven't forgiven him. I just hope you will try to be more lenient with him now. He is trying hard to change and it all happened when we were kids." Momo look up to me as I give her eye smile as she sighs in relief and says, "Ha Izu-kun, I will make sure to stop holding this grudge and work with controlling my feelings." We then start heading to the food stands as I know Momo is hungry as I praise her intellect when she battled Bakugo. Third person paw. Izuku and Momo arrive at the stands. Momo is suddenly hit slowly from behind as Momo turns to see Yukio. Yukio congrats Momo on her battle, praising her mind as Izuku goes to get some food for Momo and some drinks for himself and Yukio. Seeing Izuku walk away, Ryoko turns to Momo as she asks, "So Momo, when do you plan to confess?" Momo turns a bit red as she fiddles with her fingers as she answers, "Well, I was gonna do it after the sports festival." Yukio laughs as she pats Momo in the back as Momo suddenly says, "Well, what about you, Ryoko?" Yukio suddenly freezes as she turns away and says, I don't know what you are talking about." Momo presses further, saying, "Save it, Ryoko, we both know you love him just as much as I do." Yukio looks back a bit guilty as she quietly says, "But you known and loved him longer than me, Momo, I don't wanna pursue him hurting you as well." Momo then answers, "But I know Izuku was one of the first people you became friends with and he is the reason we all met. I would feel horrible if this creates a distance between us." Yukio then hugs Momo as she whispers with a sweet tone, "Well Momo, have you ever thought of me as a crush?" Momo's face reddens as she backs a bit away, saying, What do you mean?" Yukio smiles as she says, "Well Momo, I haven't only loved Izuku but you as well. You were so nice, bubbly, friendly and so beautiful, it's hard not to catch feelings." Momo's face reddens more as she quietly whispers, Well, I may have fantasized about the three of us together as well." Yukio smiles more as she says, "Then why don't we both be together along with Izuku as well? This way, we can always stay together." Momo thinks for a small time but says, "But we won't be able to marry publicly." Yukio smiles for kindly as she says, "Oh my dear Momo, we can always have a private wedding amongst ourselves with you publicly marrying Izuku." Momo smiles in return as she says, "Won't you be jealous?" Yukio replies, "I can just marry you both in private then. It's like a three-way relationship between us and we can always be together not being lonely." Momo looks away as she says, Well, let's talk about this later. You know Jirou also likes Izuku and there is another new friend who is growing close to Izuku as well." Yukio put on a bit of a complicated face as she sighed and said, I didn't take Izuku for Lady Killer." Momo laughed a bit as she said, "I guess, he is just that unconsciously good at making us fall for him." Both laugh for a while as they see Izuku approaching with a tray of food and drinks and decide to talk to each other later in private. Izuku looks at the girls having a bit of red on their face as he questions, "Why are you both a bit red? Did something happen?" Momo quickly shakes her head as she says, "It was just a bit hot standing here, Izuku." Izuku nods as they all sit in a table to eat food. Third person POV. The seats were filled once again as break time was over. Now moving into the top 8 or quarterfinals of the tournament, Momo and Izuku were back again with the class. Midnight walked onto the stage with a mic as she announced, and with the first round of fights, we move on to the top 8. You can see the list of candidates on the screen, so choose which one you support for. Time to reveal the matchups. The younger part of the crowd cheered as the 8 names shuffled on screen. Match 1. Mina Ashido vs Hitoshi Shinso. Match 2. Yaoyorozu Momo vs Akano Himahima. Match 3. Honta Siro vs Izuku Midoriya. Match 4. Ajiro Kirishima vs Itsuka Kendo. I once again spun a wheel of names for the matchups, it's choosing quite nicely. 4. Looking up at the screen, Mina got up from her seat to go fight but Kirishima stopped her as he said, "Mina, be careful and try not to speak, okay?" We see how his previously opponent was gonna respond to him but was hypnotized or something. Mina gave him a grin as she answered, "Thanks Kiri. I will make sure to mind it." Present Mike in the booth announced, "And now folks, the first match in the quarterfinals is between the mysterious figure from the General Chaos, Hitoshi Shinsi, going up against the cheerful human Kirby of Class 1A, Mina Ashido." 2. Both contestants walked into the ring giving a nod to Midnight as she began the countdown. "Alright, 3, 2, 1, fight." Without wasting a second, Mina instantly began throwing acid at Shinso while closing the gap between them. Shinso, clearly a bit overwhelmed, had no choice but to scamper around trying not to be burned as he didn't get an opportunity to speak. Mina then smirked as she surrounded her feet with acid, speeding up towards Shinso. "God damn it." Letting out a scream, Shinso tried to make a futile punch, showing his lack of training as Mina easily slid under the punch before grabbing the back of Shinso's shirt as she lifted him up and tossed him down. Hitting the floor hard, Shinso let out spit and blood as his back was severely in pain. Damn you blessed people, trying desperately to get some kind of reply but failed as Mina just grinned before shooting out some acid. Shinso screamed in pain as Mina just said, "Wow, you have a weak body," before kicking him in the stomach as he was pushed out of the line with the force of the kick. Coughing, Shinso gritted his teeth before the robots came to take him away. Midnight came close Mina as she rose Mina's hand declaring, "And the winner is Mina Ashido going for the semifinals." The crowd cheered as Mina gave a bright smile waving around before she left the stands. Izuku watched a bit proud of his classmate winning so easily and her cheerful personality catching people's attention. Izuku looked at Kirishima too, seeing how even though he was not the smartest in class, his battle instinct is quite crazy. Seeing both Momo and Akeno silently go down, Izuku looked more focused as it was his close friends who were battling after all. Up in the booth, Present Mike started, "Alright folks, this is a match between arguably some of the top female candidates of the hero course. We have the Thunder Priestess, Akeno Himahima going up against the Goddess of Creation and the President of Class 1A, Momo Yaorozu. Coming onto the field, Momo gave Akeno a smile as she said, "Let's not hold back Akeno." Giving a smile in return, Akeno answered, "I will not dare so, President." Giving a nod to Midnight who began the countdown, "Alright then 3, 2, 1, fight." Momo instantly created a full leather sweater around her and a huge wooden shield. Akeno shoots lightning which hits the wood, breaking it apart but Momo is not affected. Making rubber gloves, Momo charged towards Akeno who suddenly summons wings made with lightning flying into the sky. Momo then makes a 1-inch thick sheet of rubber as she couches under it, hidden from view. Akeno constantly tries striking with lightning which doesn't work as so Akeno decides to not waste more energy and lands on the ground away from Momo. Momo creates a small grenade as she compresses halothane vapor, flothane, in quantities into it as she creates a mini grenade launcher. "President, come on out. We don't have all day." Momo throws the rubber sheet up shielding herself from view as Akeno immediately flies up. Momo jumps towards the side as she shoots the grenade launcher. Being unable to react in time, the grenade hits the lightning wings causing the gases to rush out spreading around Akeno's area. The audience were unaffected as there was an energy barrier around the fighting area. Momo had his face mask as Akeno who slowly falls to the floor wobbling as she chuckles, I guess I lost." Falling asleep. The gas slowly spread all over the arena neutralizing itself as Midnight blocking her nose with a face mask comes onto the field. Raising Momo's hand, she declares, "The winner by knockout is Momo Yaorozu." Momo smiles as she goes towards Akeno. Momo was equally exhausted creating so many things. Making a small bottle with cold water, Momo splashes some on Akeno. Waking up, Akeno looks around gathering her bearing as she looks at Momo offering her a hand. Grabbing the hand, Akeno pulls herself up as she surprisingly hugs Momo as she whisper, "You were so cool President, I will make sure to defeat your next time." Momo replies, "We will see Akeno." They separate as things Momo made turn back into shiny particles merging with her. Feeling some of her energy back, both go out of the arena. In time to see Izuku walking towards them. "You both fought really well, Momo. Your knowledge with chemicals is still a mystery to me. Akeno, you were also able to increase your duration of using lightning. Maybe you need more practice on control is all." Both give a cheerful smile at the compliment. "Thanks Izuku." Giving an eye smile, Izuku walks by going to the arena for his match. Present Mike's voice was heard around as he was announcing, "After that intelligent match, we will move on to the next match with arguably the fastest person in Japan and the vice president of 1A, Izuku Midoriya going up against Zero. Who is quickly proving himself to be more than what people think." Both boys are on the stage as Zero was seen with a nervous smile. Izuku just keeps silent as Zero seats as he says, "PLs don't hurt me too much Vice Prez." Izuku gave a nod as Midnight began the countdown. "Well then, 3, 2, 1, fight." Swiss, Izuku suddenly disappeared arriving behind Zero with a neck chop. Having no chance to react, Zero face planted into the ground losing consciousness. There was silent processing for a while as they started cheering. Midnight came onto the field raising Izuku's hand, The winner of this round is Izuku Midoriya. Robots arrive on the field lifting Zero onto the stretcher, taking him away as Izuku also walks away. Izuku walks out as he hears Kurama, "Damn kid, you sure didn't give him a chance like that invisible girl." Izuku shrugs as he thought, Zero already had given up halfway when he said to go easy on him. Closing parenthesis. Izuku looks at Tsuka walks towards him as she passes by him as she says, "I can't wait to test up with you Midoriya." Izuku pauses looking back, seeing Kendo walk towards the arena as he just walks away whispering, "As much as I wanna expect strong opponents, I know for a fact no one here can defeat me. I was trained for the sake of not being a hero but to protect people any way possible, even killing the villains." It was true. Kurama thought Izuku about the horrors during the ancient times and how there are even outer space species who might invade us. Mercy was never an option. A lesson drilling into Izuku during his spars with Kurama. Only those who suffered due to villains can know the importance of ending them as well. What general public don't know is that even villains are killed, but not exposed to public. It's like how All Might is the light spreading safety amongst citizens and a few people who are the shadows eliminating threats. 1. Back to arena, and now we have the indestructible Rock of Class 1A. Eijirou Kirishima battling against the President and Hulk of Class 1B, Itsuka Kendo. Announced present mic as Kendo glares at the booth, offended to be related to Hulk. How rude, to call a frail lady a Hulk. Kirishima and Kendo walk onto the arena giving a nod to Midnight, who counts down, "Alright. 3, 2, 1, go." Kirishima, hardening his hands, rushed towards Kendo with his hands in a cross guard. Kendo, inflating her hands to the size of a truck, runs towards Kirishima. Bang! Kendo's fist meets Kirishima's guard. Kirishima grits his teeth, feeling the impact as he kicks towards Kendo's stomach. Jumping up, Kendo prepares to smash Kirishima's head. Placing his guard up, bang! The impact sound was huge as Kirishima was pushed down onto his knees. Even the concrete cracked and caved in a small bit due to the force. Kirishima shakes his hands, feeling trying to shake off the numbness. "Wow, you got some defense, let's see you take this." Kendo jumps back and puts his fists against the ground, pushes against the ground, flying up high into the air with the momentum. Now extending her fists more to cover the more area than Kirishima can escape, she starts falling towards the ground with her fist facing front. Kirishima pales as he pushes his hardening to the limit and curls his hands and legs up. Boom! Like an explosion, a huge sound was heard as the arena broke up into parts. The smoke cleared as Midnight saw Kirishima fully knocked out with his hands twisted and broken. The robots come take him away as Midnight goes to Kendo, who was panting and shaking her hands a bit in pain, thinking, "Damn it. Punching that guy in concrete was too much for my poor arms." Midnight points to Kendo, declaring, "And the winner of the last round of the quarterfinals is Itsuka Kendo." Kendo waves her arms around with a small pained smile as she goes towards the infirmary. Present mic then announces, "We will take a 10-minute break to check the condition of the students and be back with the semifinals." The mic turns off as present mic turns to Aizawa as he says, "Man, this batch is crazy." Aizawa, "She literally destroyed the arena." Aizawa nods as he replies, "True mic, but this is what we need, stronger students to take up the mantle. We both know All Might is not immortal." Mike nods his head, understanding Aizawa. With Izuku. Seeing the fight, Izuku looked surprised at the destruction. "I did not expect this level of destruction from her, I admit." Closing parenthesis. Kurama replied, "That girl really went all the ways to train her quirk, kinda like you kid." Izuku could agree with Kurama. Her quirk is not related to any element either, so he can't just seal it. Izuku shrugs, thinking, "I guess I will reveal another jutsu. She might think I will do what I did with Zero after all." "You have to be careful, kid. Her physical strength is more after all. It may not hurt, but the momentum will definitely push you off." Izuku smiles under his mask. "I just have to take her out faster than before." Third person POV. It was the top 4 left, who were Mina, Momo, Kendo and Izuku, as they were on the stage as Midnight was addressing the audience. "Alright guys, time for the top 4 and let us see the match up." 4 names shuffled around on the screen as they finally stopped revealing. Match 1. Mina Ishido vs Itsuka Kendo. Match 2. Izuku Midoriya vs Momo Yaoyorozu. Momo, who was still exhausted from her match, looked a bit nervous as she saw Izuku look at her with an even stare. Mina was still bubbly as ever, but Kendo was a bit exhausted and in pain from her fist hitting the concrete harder than ever during her match with Kirishima. Midnight announced, "Alright, it's time for the match 1 between Mina Ishido and Itsuka Kendo, may the other participants wait on the side." Momo and Izuku walked off towards Midnight's station beside the arena as Mine and Kendo stood, facing each other. Midnight walked in between as she put forwards her hand. "Alright then. 3, 2, 1, begin." Mina started by shooting acid at high speeds towards Kendo, who was running around the field dodging. Mina, seeing that her opponent was too agile for her aim, started sliding around the floor throwing acid on the ground, limiting Kendo's movements. Kendo, noticing having her movements restricted, concentrated her quirk on one arm, making it the size of a truck as she pushed off the ground using the fist, launching herself more than 13 meters in the air. Instead of panicking, Mina took the opportunity to shooting acid at the airborne target as Kendo, with her hand still big, aimed it towards Mina, while falling down at her. Kendo's hand was working as a shield, but it was still being burned by the acid as Kendo cringed in pain. Mina, releasing acid from her feet in one quick push of her feet, quickly slid off, dodging the fist, and Kendo hit the concrete full force. Kendo gave a shout in pain as Mina took the opportunity to quickly slid up and kick the disoriented Kendo in the back, pushing her off the arena. Pressing a button to call the med bots, Midnight announces, and the winner of that match was Mina Ishido. With present Mike in the booth continuing, "Wow, our Acid Queen striked again with a clean victory using agility." Aizawa continues, "Ishido's quirk is very versatile and dangerous, seeing she can control the acidic level of her acid and she has an excellent way of controlling it as well." Mina grins while waving and going of the stage as Midnight comes up saying, "Alright, time for the second matchup of the semifinals. It's Izuku Midoriya versus the Princess of Ua, Momo Yaoyorozu." Izuku walks up to the stage with no expression on his face while Momo walks up determined to do her best. Izuku's paw. "Momo, you have come a long way in training. I will test you today on your progress." "Alright Momo, show me your training." She nods, bringing out her staff and creating a waist pouch for her throwables. I look at Midnight, who walks up the stage putting her hand forwards as she starts. "Alright then, 3, 2, 1, start." Momo rushes me, striking forward with the staff, which I push aside with palm. Third person paw. Using the momentum from which Izuku pushed the staff, Momo rotates, striking from the side as Izuku jump, avoiding the staff. Momo then extends the staff from where she held, causing Izuku to hold the staff while being pushed off due to the force of its extension. Izuku raises his hand, striking the metal staff and breaking it to stop the extension as Momo absorbs the part of the staff as she takes out a handful of shuriken, throwing at Izuku, who jumps aside to avoid it. Momo uses the time to make a smoke grenade as she also wears a mask, throwing the smoke grenade to the ground. Izuku knew where Momo was but stays still to see what her plan is. Izuku suddenly moves to the left as he hears a slashing sound. Izuku holds a hand sign as suddenly wind explodes from him, clearing the smoke and pushing Momo back a bit. The smoke clears as Izuku sees Momo using a katana with a rounded edge. Izuku takes out 2 kunais as Momo rushes, slashing at him with all she learned as Izuku calmly parries the sword with the kunais. Momo then does a forward slash as Izuku spins around after kicking Momo's feet, making her stumble as he uses the handle of the kunai to hit Momo's back, making her fall to the ground. "You're good with the sword Momo, but don't forget that you should never place too much weight on one foot, cause it's easy to make you lose your footing." Momo gets up as she glares a bit at Izuku for lecturing her in the middle of a match as she suddenly throws more shuriken at Izuku, making him jump back as Momo creates a net gun shooting at Izuku. Coating his kunai with wind chakra, Izuku cuts up the nets, making it fall aside as Izuku places one step forward and disappears as Momo turns around, thinking she might be attacks from the back, but Izuku was above her as he holds her shoulders like he was doing a handstand on her shoulders and lifts her up while landing on the floor and throws Momo over the edge. Midnight, seeing that Momo was off the arena, declares, by ring out, the winner is Izuku Midoriya. In the booth, present Mike comments, and the speed demon strikes again, both contestants showing their abilities with different weapons, and Izuku Midoriya, in a show of acrobatics and strength, throws his opponent in a unique style. Aizawa continues, Yaoyorozu Momo was also very adept with her weapons and tactics, but Izuku Midoriya shows more prowess with physical combat even compared to most pros. The audience cheered as Izuku helps a pouting Momo standing up as he puts on a helpless expression at Momo, who seemed to be mad at him. "You have gotten a lot better recently, Momo. You are really good with the katana." Momo, silent for a while, replies, "I have been practicing, but Izuku-kun, did you really have to throw me like that? You could have neck chopped me like Zero." Izuku scratches his mask near the cheek area as he thinks, "Well, I can't say that I was a bit too into the match now, can I?" "No, kid, you can't unless you want Momo to ignore you for a week," says Kurama as Izuku dreads at that happening as he replies to Momo, "I was just showing you an example that you can even be attacked from above you, is all." Thinking about it, Momo sighs as she says, "Fine, but I want a date in the mall after this tournament." "Yes," replied Izuku immediately. Izuku and Momo froze as they processed what they just said, as they stated, getting red in the face as Izuku says, we will talk about the D-date later." "Why, yes," replies Momo as she runs off towards the stands. Izuku stays growing more red under Kurama's teasing as Midnight chuckles at what she witnessed. Going up to the stage, Midnight announces, "All right folks, now is time for the finals between Mina Ishido and Izuku Midoriya." Both walk onto the stage as Izuku says, "I am really proud over your progress, Mina. You defeated Kendo with nice tactic." Mina laughs as she says, "Haha. Thank Vice Prez, your guidance helped me train better, hehe." Izuku lets out a small laugh as he says, "I guess I don't need to go easy on you then." Mina starts panicking as she says, No, please don't beat me up. I have a beautiful face." Midnight walks as she says, 3, 2, 1, begin. Mina starts shooting acid, but Izuku just disappears using flash step as he picks up Mina and flashes again on the edge as he puts Mina down on the grass. 1. Everyone was silent as Mina just yelled, "Damn you, Izuku Midoriya." People started laughing as even Aizawa was hiding his smirk as Midnight announces Izuku as the winner of the tournament is present. Mike comments, "Well, that was a rather interesting finish to the tournament." Aizawa comments, "Couldn't agree more." Izuku was running around the stage with a mad Mina chasing after him, throwing acid as everyone was reminded of the old cartoon, Tom and Jerry. 2. A while later, and 100 apologies and a promise to buy candies later, Mina finally calmed down, allowing the reward ceremony to start. The podium was installed with Izuku on the top one, with Mina on the second place one and Kendo on the third place one. Midnight then started, and for the award ceremony, we have the special guest it is me, All Might. All Might suddenly lands on stage, interrupting Midnight as she suddenly turned white as Izuku facepalmed as everyone started cheering for All Might. Midnight clammed herself down as she held the tray of medals. "The third place goes to Momo, Yaoyorozu and Itsuka Kendo," announced Midnight as All Might places a medal on them and says, "You girls did really amazing this tournament. Yaoyorozu was really good with her mind, and Quirk and Kendo, you were a really ferocious fighter." Both girls beamed at the praise as Midnight continued. 5. The second place goes to Mina Ishido. All Might places the medal saying, "You have really improved since the first battle, class Ishido. Keep it up." Giving a high five to the excited pink girl, All Might moves on to Izuku and Midnight continues. And the first places goes to the speed demon, Izuku Midoriya. Placing the medal on Izuku's neck, All Might says, "You were really amazing, Midoriya, breaking my record so easily and dominating the tournament with visible ease and not showing many of your tricks. I can see you are close to surpassing me than any other person." Izuku smiles as Kurama says, "If only you knew, the so-called strongest hero, if only you knew." The audience clapped for the victors as the four winners waved their hands as the audience slowly started chanting, "Remove the mask! Remove the mask! Remove the mask! Oh, Shota. Seems like the audience wants Santo see the face of our speed demon. Well, even I am curious as well." Present Mike. Midnight hands over the mic to Izuku as he says, "You want to find out what is inside the mask?" "Yes." Izuku slowly lifts the mask over the nose as he slowly brings it close to the mouth and says, "Inside the mask." He removes it completely, as another mask Another black mask was shown in place as everyone falls down on their face as Momo laughs in the situation as Mina was once again trying to jump on Izuku to reveal his face, but Izuku runs around dodging her with ease. Third person POV. Meeting up with the class, Izuku was greeted by cheers and smiles as everyone was either complimenting or complaining at him for pulling such a big prank at the award ceremony. After a small celebration with energy drinks at the vending machine, the class split up as Izuku and Momo are walking towards the car. "So, a mall date huh?" said Izuku as Momo's face becomes red as she says, "Well, why yes, it was a spur of the moment. You don't actually have to." Momo gets cut off as Izuku hugs her suddenly, gently pushing Momo against the wall. "I am so happy, Momo. I will accept our date. Not only this, I am willing to go on as many dates as you like." With eyes widening, Momo yells in surprise, "Wait. Does that mean?" "Yes, Momo. I love you and I want you as my girlfriend." Tears slowly fall out of Momo's eyes as she grabs and pulls down Izuku's mask as she stood on her toes as she locks her lips with his. 3. Shocked but happy, Izuku holds her tighter as he slowly accepts and melts into the first kiss between them with more to come. Suddenly snap asterisk. Izuku and Momo turn their head to see Inko and Athena clicking photos with Akira smiling awkwardly with his hands raised up. My, aren't you too bold to do this in public?" With heat rising rapidly to their face, both separate immediately as they turn away from each other. "Haha, Athena, looks like I won the bet. I knew Izuku would propose first," said Inko as Izuku and Momo yell, "You two made bets." The remainder of the day was spent at the restaurant as the poor new couple were constantly made fun of by their parents. Time skip. 1:00 p.m. Izuku was pacing about at his room as he was still excited over what happened today. He then remembers that they actually haven't planned out their date as he calls Momo. Ring. Momo. Yes, Izuku. Hey Momo. Well, we kind of forgot to plan out tomorrow's date. Momo. Oh yeah, a lot happened and we kinda forgot. Izuku. Why yay, so when do you wanna start tomorrow? Momo. Well, I suppose after breakfast at 10 would be a good start and also no fancy restaurant. Izuku. Haha, don't worry, I am not like Uncle Akira, let's plan it this way. I will plan what we will do after we eat lunch and you plan what we should do before lunch and where to have lunch. Momo. That sounds wonderful Izu. You better plan good, I am still mad at being thrown like that. Izuku. I am sorry OKT. How many times should I apologize? Momo. I am just joking. Well then I will see you tomorrow Izuku. Same here, good night. Momo. Good night. Cutting off the call, Izuku smiles to himself. Oh, someone is happy. Very happy, chuckle asterisk. What can I say sensei? This has been my most memorable day. Replies Izuku as Kurama says, you better sleep then, you wanna look your best tomorrow, without the mask. With Momo, a certain someone is seen rolling around the bed in excitement while hugging their pillow before suddenly remembering what happened with Yukio a few hours ago. Momo takes out her phone and goes to Yukio's number as she sends a message. Momo. Ryoko. Izuku proposed. We will go on a date tomorrow smile. Yukio. OMG. You are so lucky. T. Give me details. Both chat away as Momo recites the events that happen. Yukio. You are so lucky. Don't forget our talk before. Momo. Oh, I have not forgotten. Let's meet up this Saturday with Kyoka and discuss. Yukio. Oh, it's gonna be easy to convince Kyoka smirk. Momo. Huh, what do you mean? Yukio. Nothing. With Yukio. Oh Momo, you innocent girl, Kyoka crushed on you harder than she crushes on Izu. It's gonna be one hell of a Saturday, Ryoko thinks to herself before getting ready for the night patrol. Even though Yukio got her license only 8 months ago, she was famous for being able to skip her second year directly to third year due to her extraordinary performance. The class that she studied with have just entered the second half of their third year. 1. As well as having one of the rarest type of quirks, Yukio quickly started climbing up the hero ranking due to her personality and her gentleness with anyone she rescues. Already rated amongst the top 5,000, amongst the currently available 56,890 heroes in Japan. Yukio has also made the headlines a lot for being able to acquire the official hero title at the age of 17, only losing to Hawks who got it at 16. THENEXTDAY. With Izuku. Looking at the mirror, Izuku looks between the blue jean shirt and the black shirt he has in his hands. Shrugging, he puts on the blue jean short not buttoned over his silver t-shirt as well as light blue jean pants. "What do you think, sensei?" asked Izuku as he heard Kurama answer, "Honestly kid, you are blessed with your looks, you can pull of any look." Taking the answer as yes, Izuku folds and keeps the other shirt back in the dresser. "Alright, I am good to go, now to just eat breakfast." Meanwhile with Momo. Mom, which one should I wear?" Athena's sweat drops unable to see her daughter's face due to the amount of clothes she is carrying while Akira vanishes away not wanting to deal with a fashion show. Momo threw the clothes on the floor as the mother and daughter starting picking out possibilities. 1 hour later, finally coming out of the dressing room, Momo presented her outfit to her mother who clapped at it. The sound of Izuku's car horn was heard as Momo gave her mom a small hug and ran out excited for her first date. Getting into the car, Momo gave a shocked gasp to see Izuku without his mask as he gave a smile in return. "You look really good, Momo," said Izuku giving his signature eye smile as Momo beamed with the praise as she said, "I am shocked you are without your mask, Izu. Your outfit is really cool." Giving a grin in return, Izuku started the car as they went towards the biggest mall in the city expecting less rush since it is a weekday. Time skip next day. You thought a single ass me can write about a date? Keep dreaming T. A red SUV stopped at a parking spot as both Izuku and Momo got out of the car as they held hands to go to the class. "Man, I regret not wearing mask, so many people were taking pics of us yesterday," said Izuku as Momo laughed patting his back as she said, "I mean, your modeling career even though it was short was very effective after all." "Well, I wonder what we will be doing today. Sensei did say we have to pick out our 2-week internships after the festival," said Momo as Izuku shrugged and said, "Probably pick out hero names since we can't use our real names during internships." Momo nodded as the new couple made their way to class. 1. Entering into the class, Izuku and Momo met with the face of Mina. Mina looked at the linked hands between the two as she was about to yell but suddenly froze. Izuku could see the gears turning in her head as he was thinking, "Oh no. OMG, our vice representative is Izuki the model," yelled Mina as Izuku facepalmed as Momo stifled a laugh as the class was shocked as they yelled, "What?" Mina then yelled, "I saw the video of Izuki running away from fangirls while carrying Momo, but Izuku is holding her hands. So he is Izuki." Izuku was cursing in his head that someone dumb like Mina had to be the one to discover him. The class started crowding Izuku and Momo as Aizawa in the hallway sweat dropped at the scene as he sighed. Momo then said, "Guys, Aizawa-sensei is here." Everyone seemingly teleported to their places as a irritated Izuku and a giggling Momo walked back to their places. Akano, who saw Izuku sit down, said, "Era, I didn't expect you to be that famous model Izuku-kun, I wonder what else you are hiding." Izuku just groaned as Kurama said in his head, "How about the fact that you can single-handedly destroy All Might?" Izuku sighed as he replied, "You are not helping in this situation, sensei." Aizawa then came up to the desk as he said, "Alright problem children. You guys know that you will be picking your internships today, but before that, we have another important thing to do, which is..." The students looked in anticipation and fear expecting some grueling task as Aizawa continued, "Choosing your hero names. A fun activity." The students cheered in unison as Aizawa glared with his quirk making the class stop their celebration as he continued, "But I will not be the judge of your hero names, cause if you choose a bad one, there will be hell to pay," said Midnight as she walked into the class getting the attention of several boys and a couple girls. "Oh, it's Midnight. I guess someone like her is best suitable for judging our names since her hero name is one of the most popular ones. Man, those bunkers are smack. Shut up, Kiro." The class calms down as Midnight stands on the front desk with Aizawa slithering out of the classroom. Midnight announced, "Now each of you take a board from the desk and write a hero name and I will judge your choices." The students line up taking the boards as they go back to their places discussing with their friends. Most of the hero names are same and unchanged. Midnight then calls on Akano, who walks up to the front showcasing her board as she says, "I chose Lightning Priestess as my name to represent my power and my family tradition." Midnight gives a thumb up as Izuku walks up, being the last to showcase, as he shows his board saying, "And I chose to be the Green Flash, the reason should be quite obvious." Midnight nodded in approval as she then announced the end of the class and told the students to go to the principal to register their hero names for now. The day ended as Izuku, who was waiting for Momo, got a call as he accepted it as asked. Izuku. "Hey Momo, where are you?" Momo. "Izu, I will be hanging out with Kyoka and Ryuko for the evening, you can go home without me." Izuku. "Alright then love, I will see you tomorrow morning then." Momo. "ALR bye." The call was cut as Izuku decides to drive home for the day. Asterisk at home asterisk Izuku's pav. Entering into the house, I don't notice mom's presence, I guess she went for extra shift. Making my way to my room, I change into my training clothes since I have a lot of time today, might as well train for a while. 3 hours of training which will make All Might run later. Ring ring. Walking up to the phone, I look to see mom calling me. Accepting the call. Izuku. "Hello mom, need anything?" Inko. "Izu, do you mind picking me up in the hospital? I am feeling tired today. Just go to the register and say room 105A, they will guide you." Izuku. "Alright mom, I will be right over." Ding. Well, this is new, might be the first time I am ever visiting mom's workplace. Might meet mom's friend she keeps talking about. Teleporting to the marker in my room, I rush for a quick bath and change into a black t-shirt and jeans. Getting into the car, I put on the location on the maps and start driving. 25 minutes later, parking the car, I walk into the hospital and up to the counter as I ask about room 105A. It on floor 2 and to the left side of the lift, the receptionist says, and I give my thanks and walk to the lift. Arriving in front of the room, I knock on the door and stood for a few seconds before the door opens and my mom gives me a bright smile as she greets, "You were rather quick to come here Izu. Come inside, I will introduce you to my friend." Walking inside, I see a lady looking to be in her late 30s or early 40s with little wrinkles around her eyes, maybe due to lack of sleep. She has white hair and gray eyes which were dull to look at. Mom then say, "Izuku, meet my friend Rei Todoroki, who I am assigned to as a personal nurse, and Rei, this is my son Izuku Midoriya. It's a pleasure to meet you Miss Todoroki." "Wait Todoroki." Giving me a small smile, she says, "It's nice to meet you too Izuku, Inko talks about you a lot." I then ask, Miss Todoroki, are you in any way related to Shoto Todoroki?" I see a brief flash of surprise in her eyes as they turn dull and she says, "Why yes, I am his mother, and how do you know him?" I rub the back of my head a bit sheepishly as I answer, "Well Miss Todoroki, I am his classmate at UA." She then says, "Ooh, I thought I saw you somewhere, you were the winner of the sports festival. Congrats on that Izuku." "Thank you miss." She then turns silent for a moment and she says, "Izuku, how is my son in school?" I was surprised, doesn't he tell his mom about his school life? Nevertheless, I answer, "He is smart in studies, he does come of his cold but he does have people talking to him, but he does have a strange obsession of only using his ice and not using his fire." I see her eyes turn dull as she says, "I see, I wish I could talk to him one day but he probably doesn't want to." Izuku's pav. The night passed as I contemplated what my mom told me about Miss Todoroki's past with Shoto. Never would I imagine that Endeavor would behave like this with his family. I woke up, I already finished packing my bags for the internship. I can't go with Ryuko since she is still a newbie in the hero field. I did pick Maruko since I saw many news articles point out about her never taking in any interns. I wonder why she picked me, but anyways. Her secretary did send me the agency location. I went downstairs for breakfast. I first have to go to the station to drop off Momo and pick up my hero costume suitcase with Aizawa. Thankfully, the agency is near to the station. "Izuku, are you leaving? You will be late if you don't." I hear my mom yell as I reply, "Yes mom. Just a minute." I put on my shoes as I take the keys while I go out. I recently widened the size of the sunroof on my car. I don't know why I did. But I did. Strapping on the seat belt, I start the car and drive towards the bigger mansion in front of me. Good morning Izuku-kun. Morning Momo. Flashing me a smile, Momo gets into the car as I asked, so is all of your stuff ready? Momo pointed at the back as she said, yep, 2 whole suitcases. I let out a sigh as I said, my dear Momo, is there a need to pack so much when you are a walking shopping mall? Momo gives me a sheepish smile as she says, well, it is my first internship and as with Uwabami, I kind of got too excited and forgot. Letting out a chuckle, I start driving while Momo connects to the Bluetooth to play songs. 20 minutes later, parking my car, I offer to carry Momo's luggage since mine is sealed in my storage tattoo anyways. I spot Aizawa in platform 5 as we both stand in front of him. I see no one else arrived yet. Aizawa turned towards me as he spoke. Good luck on your internship Midoriya, Maruko can be quite a character. I see him sending me a glance of pity as I reply, thanks sensei, I am sure I will be able to learn new things. He nodded as we stood in silence waiting for others. 10 minutes is the amount of time we had to wait till everyone arrived. Aizawa after taking attendance said, try to learn as much as possible because this is valuable experience, and don't cause trouble or do actions which will tarnish the academy's reputation. Don't use your quirks without permission of your intern teachers. That is all, now leave. Yes sir. Everyone ran off to their stations as I stored my costume suitcase in my tattoo. That storage ability is really convenient, said Aizawa as I nodded, I do agree. I can be a personal storage to an army for war if I want to be. He nodded as he turned around and left. I went outside to the parking lot and put on the location as I started driving. 18 minutes later, I am in front of the building. I saw a small driveway underground where I parked and came out. I went into the dome-shaped building. This looks more like a training center if I am honest, but I guess this is one for Maruko, since her secretary is the only other employee in the agency. I walk to the reception desk as I greet, hello ma'am. I am Izuku Midoriya from UA here for my internship. The secretary was a woman with bunny facial features but normal human skin tone. She clapped her hand as she said, ah, we have been waiting for you Izuku Midoriya. I am Rafne, Maruko's secretary and the only employee here. Maruko is in the training hall. Just go straight from here and it's the 4th door to the right. I nod as I bow my head and walk towards my destination. I push the door as I said, hello Myrick. I catch the kick aimed at my stomach and push the person back as I glared at the white rabbit ears and said, what was that for? Maruko smirked as she said, hey, your reflexes and strength are on point as I expected kid. I look at Maruko as I whispered, oh wow, she really is short without the ears. A tick appeared on Maruko's head as she yelled, alright brat, you insult my height. Put em up. Third person pav. Maruko jumped forward with a kick. Izuku stopped using the resistance and weights a few days ago since his body exceeded them anyways, so he easily swatted away Maruko's legs as he pushed her towards the wall with a palm strike on her stomach. Crashing against the wall, Maruko let out a small gasp at impact but soon gathered herself and in an instant dashed towards Izuku. Seeing the kick aimed at his head, Izuku bent his head aside and Maruko's kick missed, but her momentum came to sudden halt as Maruko spat some saliva and blood as she looked down to see Izuku knee against her stomach. Izuku pulled his leg back as Maruko coughed hard, collapsing on the floor. D-damn kid, that was one hell of a strike. Izuku chuckled as he said, and that was a nice warm-up for training sensei. Maruko grew a tick mark but let out a sigh as she stood up and said, I invited you seeing your strength at the festival and you didn't disappoint me. I thought you could use some kicking techniques but I see you don't need them anyways. Izuku nodded as he said, so what will we be doing now sensei? Maruko grinned as she said, drop the sensei part, you are much stronger than me. I will be directly showing you hero work. You will be patrolling with me for the whole of 2 weeks. Directly learn from the experienced kid. Izuku gave an eye smile as he said, alright Maruko. Maruko then asked, leaving that aside, how did you develop your strength to this level? I am sure your quirk is not related to physical advancement. Izuku nodded as he said, I used training things like resistance seals which I applied over my body using my quirk. There are different levels to it. LVL1 makes it feel like you are walking through water and it goes higher with each level. Maruko gave out a whistle as she said, You think you can hook me up to those seals as well? Izuku pondered as he said, I can, but you can't disable them. I can only do it. But I guess you can get used to LVL1 by the time our internship ends and we can meet up to alter it accordingly. Maruko grinned as she spread her arms and said, Alright kid, hook em up. Izuku then nervously scratched his cheeks as he said, Well, you have to remove your clothes. I can only do them on the skin. Thinking for a while, Maruko circled around Izuku poking at his muscles as bit as she stepped back and said, You know what, you will be fine for a mate. Maruko immediately stripped off her clothes as she gave a wide grin. Izuku stared for a second in shock as he turned fully red and yelled, Wah what are you doing? Have you no shame? Maruko gave a confused tilt as she said, What? You said you can only apply on the skin. Izuku still covering his face said, Okay, it's my fault for a miscommunication, but aren't you not ashamed showing your naked body? Maruko then pointed at Izuku making her chest jiggle as she said, Hey. I am not a exposing slut, alright. I only did this to you since I announced you were suitable as a mate. Izuku yelled, Just wear your bra and panties aleast. Or else I am running away now. Geez fine. Maruko wore her undergarments as Izuku finally opened his eyes but regretted it. Goddammit, that black undergarments are not helping. She just looks more sexy now. Finally calming himself down, Izuku took out his brush as he started applying the sealing array on Maruko. The redness in his face didn't disappear and Maruko's wide teasing grin didn't help at all. 10 minutes later, Izuku was finally done as Maruko dressed herself up while Izuku was mentally apologizing to Momo for seeing another woman's sexy body. Izuku crashed his head against the floor for thinking that Maruko's body was sexy, but he can't help it. He is still a fanboy at heart and Maruko has always been his hero crush in middle school. Maruko then tried moving around as she said, Phew. This is quite difficult. This is one hell of a training, alright. I guess I can't do much fighting like this. Maruko then pointed at Izuku as she said, Alright Green Flash, you will be doing all the fighting against villains for the next 2 weeks, while I train with this. Izuku protested saying, Aren't you meant to be the one training me? Maruko grinned as she said, Practical learning is the best kid. I will give you pointers too, so don't worry. Izuku let out a sigh resigning to his fate as he heard Kurama laugh in his mind, Ahahahaha, this is comedy gold kit. She is one fiery woman alright, more than Naruto's mom. Good luck with this one. Izuku retorted in his mind, I already have a girlfriend. Kurama snorted as he said, As if one is enough. You will only grow more powerful. You will be the center of attraction with your face as well. And I think your girl is planning to bring someone too. Izuku just blocked of Kurama grumbling about his nonsense as he looked at Maruko struggling to perform physical exercises. He then just went to his temporary room to get some peace of mind. He opened his phone as he messaged to Momo. Cringe content incoming. Izuku. Heya, did you reach yet? Momo. Yes Izu, I did. Turns out Kendo from B class is also here. Uwabami said she will teach us on how to deal with the popularity that comes with being a hero and communication skills. Izuku. That is nice. You will definitely be popular for your beautiful face. Momo. Oh, stop it. You are being cheesy. And this lady only belongs to you. Izuku. That is true. They can only cry in jealousy. Chucking to himself for the amount of cliché text, Izuku continued messaging for a bit before Maruko broke into the room as she said, Alright my man, time for patrolling. Izuku let out a sigh as he said, I am not your man, but give me a minute to get ready. Maruko grinned as she said, You will soon be. Izuku kicked her out of the room as he grumbled to himself while getting ready quickly. Izuku's paw. Walking out of Maruko's agency, I look behind seeing Maruko walk normally except from her rather unnoticeable muscle tensing, which I guess she is struggling but is trying to maintain her composure. I did want to offer a car patrol with my car, but it will interfere with he training, so I held the thought in. Alright Green Flash, we will patrol the whole 1 km diameter circle with our agency as the center. There won't be any crimes near, but I do want to get you used to the attention at least, and what other things apart from fighting villains that we heroes do. Maruko explained to me as I nodded my head. Heroes must also have some other responsibilities aside from villains. We are given free usage of Quirk, so community service is also a must as they are things nowadays which can be done instantly by the right strong Quirk. The correct example would be 13. Due to large-scale destructive fights, the scrapyard gets crammed up a few times, so they commission or request 13 for help since she can just use her Quirk and clear things instantly. Smentos also works for the most time behind the scenes to quickly repair the destroyed buildings, which is commonly done by All Might. Of course, these commission requests are first scanned by the Hero Commission and then once they approve, it is passed to the hero or their agency. Walking out of the agency, Maruko starts jogging, beckoning me to keep up, and I asked, "Do you normally jog around like this?" Shaking her head, Maruko replied, "I normally jump between buildings since I don't want to catch public attention since I am after all in the top leagues." I do agree. It is a law that you don't get to interrupt a hero in duty since it is a punishable offense. The kids look at Maruko while they wave excitedly as she also grins softly while waving back. "You seem to like greeting kids." Maruko turns to me as she says, "Well, I always liked kids. Energetic, sometimes rowdy and sometimes cute. And they seem to like me a whole lot too." I nod. "Well, children do adore rabbits." 1. We have been jogging for a while and nothing much seemed to be going. Citizens were going about their lives in a peaceful manner. I spot a construction site ahead. The cable holding the wide metal bars seems awfully thin. Green flash, prepare to catch the bar. On it, I quickly flash step below the hanging metal bar as the citizens around me were shocked at my sudden appearance. The cable snaps, producing a large whip sound as the bar is now free falling. I quickly jump as I catch the bar with both hands, bending a bit at the sudden weight. I use flash step again to the open space in the construction site. I place the bar down softly as the ground shakes a bit at the weight where it is placed. I wait a few seconds as I see the construction crew rushing over. The one I think is the manager walks forwards as he bows his head, "Sire Hero. I am extremely sorry for what happened. I hope you didn't injure yourself." I sigh as I give a small glare and say, "I hope this kind of negligence is not shown anymore. This looks like a huge construction site and it's in a busy area. You have to be extremely careful with it. If I wasn't around on time, there could have been a tragic incident." The crew bows in shame as Maruko now comes over. "This is still a major incident. I will submit what happened here to the police. Luckily nothing happened, so you guys will only get a severe warning. Be more careful next time." They all sigh a bit in relief as the manager nods, "Yes, Miss Maruko." I turn around and leave with Maruko. I then see a mother and a small boy in front of us as the mother bowed her head as she said, "Thanks so much for saving us from the metal bar. We would have been crushed if it wasn't for you. Thank a lot." I wave my hands in the air, "Ma'am, please don't bow. It is our duty to ensure the safety of others." Maruko bumps her shoulder to me elbow as she said, "Take a compliment, champ." Nothing wrong with it. I sigh as I accept as soon the mother and son walked away smiling after taking our autographs. Nothing eventful happened for the rest of the morning and afternoon. Our duo stopped for a lunch break around 3 p.m., taking a wrap to go before going back to patrolling. We are eating and walking around at the same time. Turning towards her, I asked, "So, what are the limitations that we have as a hero?" "Think for a bit," she answered back. "We have the same power as the police in a way and are allowed to use quirks, but we are always have to be ready to jump into action. Example, if I am in a vacation, if anything happened near me, I can't just think that I can leave it to the local heroes or police. I have to take action by the oath we took to become heroes. We are not allowed to do some things, such as arresting anyone based on a suspicion. Police can do that but not us. And believe it or not, we are allowed to take the extreme measure of execution in situations where the villain is too strong to contain or is too dangerous for the civilians around. It is of course the last resort." I nodded, listening to her points. "Well, I guess in a way, we are just police with superpowers." Looking ahead, I see a person wearing a hoodie and covering his face look his angles and then walk into an alleyway. Of course, it is like far away from my position so the guy didn't see us. I turned to Mirko and said, "About 500 meters, down the street." He is covering himself fully and looked at his surroundings cautiously before going into an alley. Mirko just whistled a bit as she said, "Damn. You can see that far." Go from above the building. If you see anything suspicious, tell me over the earphones. I will stand nearby cutting their escape. Try to subdue them without your quirk, alright? I can't authorize your quirk without solid evidence. Nodding my head, I jump high into the air using a tree as footing and jumping on top of the 3-storied house beside me. I quickly jump through the houses to reach that alleyway. I reach above the alley and look down to see the person leaning against a wall in the dark. I quickly send chakra to my ears to enhance my hearing and focus down. He might be blended with the dark, but I can still spot him clearly. I wait for a minute before I see a group of teenagers wearing school uniform approaching from the other alleyway. I tap the earpiece hearing the ping and said, "Mirko, 3 teens wearing uniform just came from the other end. Be on full alert. I will handle the guy and you scare the teens if I signal." I release my finger as I hear a, "Got it," from the other end. Hoodie guy's paw. I see the teens approaching, see the similarities in the details they sent. I remove my shoes and press a hidden button on the side of it as the soles pop out. I take out the packets containing MDMA and keep them in my hand. The kid with a lime green spiky hair and a grin on his face says, "Did you get the correct proportions, old man?" I feel my eyes twitch at the old man comment, but keeping my calm I answered, "Don't worry, I got the correct amount. Did you get the 90,000 yen, brat?" The kid just scoffs as he puts his hand in his bag, bringing out a stack of cash. He stretched his hand to give it to me. Thump. Izuku's paw. Looking at the man I hit on the head, he directly fell down unconscious. Well, I did put a lot of force behind it. I look at the teens as the one with the money suddenly turns his hands into a hammer as he jumps back. "WHWA, WHO or you? Get the fuck away before I smash your head into mash." The other kids also bring out quirks. "Oh really now? You were gonna get a light sentence for just being a victim who was addicting and is buying drugs, but now you kids are in trouble." The 3 look back as dread fills their mind as they look at the bloodthirsty grin of Maruko. I do admit, she does look scary with it in the dark. ITSM Maruko. Run. The guy in the back screams as the 3 of them try to run. I sigh as I dash ahead, arriving just in front of the 3 as they fall unconscious. I guess neck chopping is quite efficient after all. I bring out 2 cuffs as I cuff the 2 kids with the quirk canceling cuffs while I watch Maruko do the same with the man and the other teen. I hum in thought as I said, "I think this is not the only dealer around. We might need to tell the police to investigate this man harshly to get the others." Maruko nodded as she grinned at me and said, "Good job, kid. You directly knocked them all out without any waste in time, unlike some others who I saw announce their presence before engaging in a pointless battle with the villain." I can see that scenario happening, to be honest. I hear Maruko press a button. I looked at her as she explained, this is a tracker as well as a signal. The ones on the top have these so that we can just press it and the police will come from the nearest station immediately. This is only given to the top because 1. Since our catch rate is high, the police is always on ready to reach our location anytime. 2. They can't monitor too many heroes at once." I nod as it made sense, to be fair. I hear the sound of sirens in the distance as I whistle a bit in awe. They sure are quick. I guess the tracker really is very useful. Maruko nodded at me and said, "Yay, and also, if you press it twice, it sends an emergency signal to nearby top heroes that the situation needs backup, and since many keep the tracker in their agency, you generally get a lot of backup as well since top hero agencies involve multiple sidekicks and smaller heroes." Damn, that little thing is very useful. I then just lean against the wall as Maruko reports the events of what happened to the police as they write it down and give her a salute and take the 4 away. I then see their senior officer approach me as he said, "I heard about how you handled it. You did extremely well for an intern and without your quirk too. I will definitely send a letter to UA about this. Keep up the good job, kid." The nod and try to imitate the salute I saw as I see the officer grin as he walks away. Izuku's paw. 1. The first day of patrol ended well. Maruko told me she wants us to clean a beach which is now filled with metal trash. Which is not only some really valuable community service, it will also provide for good muscle training due to the amount of varying weights. It is good for Maruko getting further with the seal. Getting ready into my hero outfit, I walk into the hall as I see Maruko and her assistant who was holding a camera. Maruko spotting me puts on a grin. "Hey Greenie, let's take a quick photo to advertise the community service that we will do." said Maruko as I was confused. Why advertise it? So I asked, but why do we need to advertise it? Maruko then took a step forward, taking my arm as she slung it around her shoulders and said, well, it helps get volunteers who want to meet and work with their favorite heroes. The beach is huge and is filled with trash, so this is a good method to gather members. Third person POV. Maybe I should create a social account too, said Izuku as he opened his phone to download the popular hero media. Maruko followed him as soon as he created, as they both took a V-sign pose with Maruko under Izuku's arm, and Izuku still had his mask on due to the height difference. The assistant posted the photo as well as tagging and collaborating with Izuku so kickstart his media career. Izuku accepted the collaboration request, not thinking much about it, which will teach him a lesson to not underestimate the popularity of top heroes. Izuku closed his phone as he got inside the car and pulled it out of the garage for Maruko to get in. Whistle. Nice ride. I dig the color, by the way, said Maruko, looking around the car before getting in. Well, I put my own money for this after all, so I wanted to make sure to get something that will last me for quite some time, said Izuku as Maruko grinned, being impressed. Izuku started driving towards the Dagoba beach while Maruko connected the Bluetooth to her phone to play music. 30 minutes later, reaching the beach, Izuku was a bit stunned to see several hundreds of people cheering while some policemen made a path for their car upon seeing Maruko inside. Izuku turned to Maruko stunned as he said, I thought like 50 or 60 people would show up, but wow. Maruko laughed as she said, this is not the end, kid, I am pretty sure more are on the way. I will have quite a busy day greeting fans. Izuku, remembering the previous post, stiffened as he asked, how many followers do you have? Maruko smirked as she said, 230 million, kid. Izuku hit his face with his palm as he groaned as Maruko laughed as Izuku muttered, 230 million people will see that post. I wanted to stay more of a underground hero, but there goes my plans. Izuku sighed as he opened his phone to see unending streak of notifications and still incoming, which he didn't realize since he muted his notifs cause he was on duty. He looked eye-boggled as he saw 230,000 followers now in his ACC, as well as a message from the Hero Media themselves. Izuku opened the message to see. Hero Media. Congrats. Green Flash, you are officially the record holder for the fastest person to reach 100,000 followers within 10 minutes. Beating the previous record by 3 days. PLs respond to our email so we can send over the prize money and medallion. 2. Damn, said Izuku as Maruko, who also read the message, whistled as she said, congrats Green Flash, now what about my? Izuku closed her mouth, giving her a deadpan stare, but Maruko just licked his hands, making him let go as he said, you are crazy, oh you haven't seen crazy. 4. Izuku just sighed as he cleaned his hand with a hand towel as they both got out from the car. The media already surrounded Maruko, being just held back a bit by the police, while Izuku was in front of the big channels who were more interested in the intern who was so close with the number 5 hero on the post. So Green Flash, what made you choose Maruko from all other options, since I am pretty sure you got from all of the top 10 heroes for winning the sports festival? Izuku was happy that the reporters from the bigger channels were decent, unlike the others who were swarming Maruko. Izuku answered, I am also more of a solo fighter, and I thought Maruko, who is also known to be solo since the beginning of her career, will definitely teach me a lot on my choice. What's the goal of today's large-scale community service? Izuku turned towards the reporter who asked as he replied, the goal is to try to clean up more than 50% of the Dagoba beach by the end of today. This is a beautiful beach which I am pretty sure many have their memories with, so the goal is to restore it back to its original state. And many thanks to all the volunteers who want to join Maruko and I in this endeavor. The reporters nodded in satisfaction as they shook hands with Izuku and moved on to cover the scale of the event. Maruko finally got away from the media as Izuku laughed, seeing the disheveled hair on her. Maruko sighed as she ran her hand through her hair and smirked at Izuku as she addressed, all right kid, I will launch the official event on the stage and we begin. Izuku nodded as Maruko got onto the stage. 5 minutes later, Maruko came down from the stage after officially announcing the beginning of the event as she and Izuku got quickly to work. Izuku went straight to the heavier and bigger things which can fall on people due to imbalance. Many volunteers who were also picked up the scrap smiled and greeted Izuku, asking some small question but not disturbing the flow of work. 3 hours later, There was a small bit of crowd gather in one place. Izuku, being curious, went to check it out and saw Maruko trying to push a huge rusty 6x6 car, but she was unable to. There was also a sign nearby saying anyone who can push this by themselves can get $10,000 cash prize by Toyota. Izuku tapped a person nearby as he asked, "How many people attempted this?" The person turned around and was a bit wide-eyed as she exclaimed, "Oh my god. It's Green Flash. Over 200 have attempted to and nobody moved it by an inch. Even Maruko just barely budged it. The challenge states to move it across where the rest of the scrap was placed, which is 500 meters away." Izuku hemmed as the announcer asked for the next participant, seeing Maruko fail. Many didn't believe they could do it as Izuku rose his hand as the announcer smiled as he said, "Oh. It's Maruko's intern. Green Flash. Please do come on to here." Izuku waved his hand around while giving an eye smile as he moved towards the vehicle. Maruko smirked as said, "Good luck, Green Flash, you are gonna need it." Izuku just nodded as he put his hands in a seal, lowering the level of his resistance seal from 5 to 3. Izuku muscles tensed, feeling the newfound power. Izuku went to one side of the truck. Putting his hands under one of the side doors, Izuku lifted the truck onto its side, making a small boom as the weight shifted. The nearby audience clapped and cheered in awe as then Izuku dug his hand under the car, which was on its side, and lifted it up onto his shoulders. His feet digging into the ground, but Izuku remained stern as he started walking towards the destination. 1. Loud cheers of excitement and encouragement fueled his energy levels high as Izuku began in a slow jog, each step making a 1 feet deep impression in the sand. It took exactly 2 minutes for Izuku to reach his destination as the audience gave a loud final cheer once Izuku placed down the huge truck gently. 1. Izuku rolled his shoulders a bit and put up a hand sign, bringing the resistance seal to LVL5 again as he went towards the announcer. The announcer grinned as he passed the cash prize bag to Izuku in front of everyone as Izuku waved around, not wanting to dance around in joy. The crowd dispersed to get on with the cleaning again as Maruko clapped her hands while approaching him. "Damn, I knew you were strong, but wow, did you do that with resistance seals?" asked Maruko as Izuku nodded a bit as he said, "I lowered it to level 3 and did it." Maruko smirked before they both head off to clean once again. More than 30% of the trash was cleaned up, and now the volunteers have increased from the initial 700 at the beginning to a whooping 5,000 people, increasing the pace like crazy. People also started arranging a chain to pass the light trash instead of carrying it over to the dump site. The government have also commissioned huge trucks to carry away the scrap to the disposal site outside the city. The event gathering huge attention made some nearby heroes also join in. 6 hours later, it was 6 p.m., right when the sun was about to set. Everyone cheered as Maruko finally dropped the last bit of scrap onto the truck, marking the end of the cleanup. People cheered while some hugging each other as the beach was finally restored to its beauty. The sun set, only making the view more mesmerizing to look at. Maruko lifted her hands up while walking towards Izuku, who shrugged while lifting his hand a bit as they both met in a high-five. "Now to end the event with a speech and take a couple mass selfies and we are done for the day." Izuku nodded at Maruko's words as she got up on the stage. Izuku turned away to walk towards where the refreshments were provided by the local supermarkets. Taking the bottle, Izuku opened the cap as all the noise suddenly went quiet. Izuku looked to see the crowd focused on him with cameras pointed at him, showing him on screen as Izuku was taken back as he asked, "What?" 1. Maruko's laugh was heard from the stage on mic as she said, "They want to see your face, kid. You have been wearing that mask the entire time." Izuku sighed as he pinched the edge of the mask above his nose and said, "You all want to know what is under the mask?" The crowd nodded together while the cameras were more zoomed in on him as Izuku stretched the mask forwards a bit while saying, "Well, what is below the mask is." The excitement was brimming. Everyone was 120% focused on Izuku. The people at home through news, online streaming channels, more than 1 million people including some of Izuku's classmates were focused and practically glued to the screen as another mask, said Izuku cheerfully, bringing down his main mask to show another mask as everyone in the crowd face faulted. Izuku laughed out loud as he said, "A mystery is only a mystery if it is kept hidden." Izuku winked at the camera and used flash step as he disappeared from the crowd. "Ha ha ha, that intern of mine to prank such a large amount of people. Well anyways, thanks for all the volunteers today in helping us clean the Dagoba beach. Let this teach some people to not throw scraps at public places. And now it's time for me to kick away. Peace off. Maruko kicked off from the ground towards the end of the crowd and disappeared onto the buildings. She had Izuku turn off her seal before she went onto the stage so she can do her exit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.